And turn it up, it's time for the show. JB and JC and Mad Dog Mully, it's a power free for these amigos. A lunchtime meet and treat, a power trio. With guests and fans that really rock, it's time to talk 3 hours about those damn Gamecocks. So grab a sandwich, soup, or beer, and let's go. It's time for the show. Oh no, it's time for TG, the Gamecock Show.
Gentlemen, the show is about to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
It's time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Built by the Barndominium Company, presented by Resto Pros of the Midlands, and part of the Chief Sports Network.
Touchdown Carolina! Touchdown Ace Sanders! Pressure! And he just dives in!
Here's JC Shurburtt, Phil Mullinax, and Jamie Bradford.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard. Welcome home. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barndo Co. and presented by our friends at Resto Pros of the Midlands, Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. They are there when you need them, and they are everywhere right now because everybody needs them because of Hurricane Helene, as we all well know. And our thoughts and prayers are with all of you as you continue to kind of churn your way forward, work your way out of what we've all been stuck in for the last few days. JC and I were able to hop on yesterday and at least try to get something out pre-recorded to try to help ease the mind, take some of what you're dealing with away from you, at least for a little bit. And hopefully maybe that helped in some way, shape, or form. Mike Morgan, of course, joining here. It is Wednesday. He'll be with us throughout the day. John Whittle's going to join us later. Stephen Garcia will join us a little bit later as well. Plenty on Ole Miss and South Carolina this weekend. We'll get a Carolina baseball update. They're on the field scrimmaging this week, and they look good. And so we're excited about that. Certainly we'll talk a lot about the SEC, and it could be a sneaky good weekend again in the league. But once again, we continue to think about all of those who are affected by this. This has just been awful. It really has just been awful. And we are well aware of everybody's situation. Just taking a quick peek at the chat box here, some of you are in without power. That means a lot to us that we can kind of, give you some sort of entertainment outside of this sad reality that we're all living in. And hopefully as time goes on, we'll all be able to, move forward. And we certainly continue to pray for everybody on that front. Mike and JC did have a JC and Morgan this morning. And so that was good to get back on the air. I want to make sure that we give uber duper super thanks to Phil Mullinax, who's our producer. I don't think people really understand this operation from time to time, and that's okay. You're not supposed to. But what he has done to be able to actually get us back and going has been nothing short of remarkable. So, Phil, you can't see Phil, but he's back there right now. So everybody make sure you give Phil some hugs and hand pounds. He's been really, really tremendous. With all that said, Mike, it is the middle of the week. It is October. We're turning into the best part of the season where, start to kind of separate yourself, things like that in the league. A lot of football to get to, and we're excited about that.
Yeah, it's a great month in general. Congratulations to the Braves. They took it to game 162. Yeah. Very synonymous with what happened my first year on the broadcast crew in 2010. Where literally on a day against the San Francisco Giants, you win and you're in, and you lose and you're not. The Braves won, and it had me. I posted something on social media, Instagram, Morgan on Air 22. I forgot I even had these pictures. I wasn't aware when I went to the ballpark that day, but they said, by the way, Mike, you need to go and do the interviews in the locker room after if we win. And I actually, this was like the seventh inning, I got the text message. I'm like, okay. And went in there, and champagne and beer all over. I did not have the goggles and the fancy stuff they have now. I just remember being doused repeatedly. And then we took the celebration outside, and I'm interviewing Chipper Jones and Billy Wagner in a wireless mic talking to the fans at Turner Field. It was a surreal deal, and I loved every minute of it. But to play 162 games and to clinch on the final day is fantastic. And of course they didn't have anything in the tank yesterday, but October, the blending of postseason baseball, and as you mentioned, in the thick of it of college football. I also watch the NFL. I know it's not for everybody. So it's just, October is one of my favorite months of the year. It's a long way of saying October is one of my favorite months on the sports calendar. It's just like every day you've got something good to talk about and to follow and to cover. And of course, to bring it back locally, this is a game that we've had circled throughout the offseason, right? We've been talking about it throughout the offseason. The interesting monkey wrench that's been thrown in is how bad Ole Miss looked against Kentucky. But that also relates to Carolina because what Kentucky has done in the last couple weeks, I think there's a lot of people nationally and maybe even locally that looked at that Gamecock thrashing of Kentucky and said, oh, Kentucky sucks. That was the narrative.
Sure.
And what Kentucky has done since then is nearly beat Georgia and go on the road and beat Ole Miss when Ole Miss looked like they were just playing with house money and they were just going to toy around en route to the playoff. And one thing Mark Stoops does, and again, all my in-laws are Kentucky fans, and I hear this during Thanksgiving dinner every year. I hate his offense, and I mean, there's a lot of not everybody's enamored with Mark Stoops in Big Blue Country, but damn it, the guy coaches D, and he shut down that Ole Miss offense like it hasn't been shut down in a while. So, what are we looking at with Ole Miss against Carolina this Saturday? I mean, there's two ways you can look at it. Well, now they're vulnerable. This is even better. Or now they're full of you-know-what and vinegar because they want to get back on track. So I think it makes the game, it's just another level of storylines, Jamie, coming into Saturday.
Yeah, I agree 100%. JC and I hit on this a little bit yesterday, and so first of all, a couple of things here. Number one, I was wrong in the offseason going into the Kentucky game. We spoke with Aaron Gershon, who's with Cat's Paws, and from the other side previewing the ball game. And I mentioned to him something that I had been saying for weeks coming into the year, that I thought Kentucky was a really fragile football team, and they might still be a fragile football team. I don't know, but that wasn't fragile. What we saw on Saturday, that was well game planned. They went down there and they played their brand of football, which, by the way, we'll get more into this. That's kind of the blueprint for South Carolina to do the same thing against Ole Miss, if you will. As far as defense and then ball control offense with a dual threat quarterback. But again, we'll come back to that. But yeah, they went down to Oxford and they brought their brand of football, and that's what they play. I mean, they doubled them up in time of possession. Time of possession, we say it often. It really doesn't matter until it does. And it mattered Saturday there in that ball game. And what you could see with Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss has a damn good football team. I don't think that that's the end of Ole Miss or anything like that. But where they're vulnerable is when you keep their offense on the sideline, they get very frustrated, and that's what happens with these offenses. These ones that like to click, 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 score. When they can't get back out there and kind of keep churning and burning, they get very frustrated and things get kind of wacky. And Kentucky did that to them. So big time hat tip. And of course it came during Carolina's off weekend. After they throttled Akron and they were able to go in with a win. They were obviously coming off the heartbreak against LSU. So they got to sit back and watch this entire thing play out, right? So I think that there are just a lot of moving parts that and a lot of different conversations that make this an incredibly interesting ball game this weekend. And to your point about the South Carolina Kentucky game a few weeks back, 100% agree with you. I think the large part of the national narrative was they're not very good. Everything that happened in the offseason has taken its toll on this program. Mark Stoops is going to probably try to find his way out of there. You had the news about the kid who decided to redshirt, that things are falling apart, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think as time has gone on, we have figured out Carolina went into Lexington, and I don't know that they beat like an excellent football team, but they beat a tough one, and they beat a good one. And it's a good win for the Gamecocks. And this could all change again if everything falls apart. But if you haven't paid attention, the next 3 games for the Wildcats, all very winnable. And they probably should win at least 2, if not all of them. So I think that was a great win for South Carolina, Mike. And I do think that it probably gives them a little bit more credit than they were getting. But they're going to have to go back out this weekend and continue to prove that.
No doubt. The other thing about that game is the last thing I'll say on the Kentucky game. We'll pay it forward. And I saw the same thing that our guest Perry Orth echoed and Pat DeMarco echoed, because I didn't look at it as, oh, this is just because Kentucky's overrated and their defense isn't really that good. I thought Dow Loggins was on point. And I know for some, this is going to be a recurring thing. Every time Carolina doesn't play well, it's going to be crush Dow Loggins. I'm not a charter member of the Dow Loggins fan club. I don't know the man. I don't care to know the man. I just know, I know what good play calling looks like. I know what this offense has. I know what its strengths are. And he damn near pitched a perfect game. Now, again, that's the game that Lenoris got away with 2 fumbles, can't do it, and it hurt against LSU. Also, you throw a ball up for grabs, can't do it. You can't do it in a game again like Ole Miss. But what he did was the play calling. You had receivers wide open. Ask Ole Miss how hard it is to get wide receivers wide open against that Kentucky defense. They didn't have that, with the exception, and I've been saying this all off season, with all the hype on Juice Wells. Juice Wells doesn't hold a candle to Trey Harris. Trey Harris is the weapon in that receiving core. And I've said that time and time again. He's a better player. He's a better draft prospect. He's a better whatever. So Juice Wells will be the storyline. I get it. And you'd love nothing more than to give the old one finger salute on the way out of a win at Williams-Brice and go, "Hey, Juice, how's life on the other side, brother?" But look, he left, whatever. The guy, Juice, did nothing, by the way, against Kentucky. I don't think he had a single catch, did he?
No, he only had 1 target too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Trey Harris is a stud. He's one of the best wide receivers in the country. That's the guy. If you want to talk about keys to the game defensively, that could be on the Fab Five tomorrow.
Well, he would be the best wide receiver in the league if there wasn't a 17-year-old kid playing ball in Tuscaloosa right now.
We talked about that on JC and Morgan. I promise you that dude is that's an alien. He ain't right in a good way. But no, I mean, like what you saw in that Kentucky game was epic, because that is a ridiculously good defense and normally ridiculously well coached. Carolina just outplayed them, out-schemed them, outperformed them, and that's obviously a credit really to both sides of the ball in that game. Obviously, the defense was ridiculously dominating. So we'll see what Ole Miss is made of in this game too. Carolina coming off a bye, that's usually a good thing, particularly when you got a quarterback who's banged up. You've had a chance to really, I'm sure they're looking at that Kentucky tape left and right and saying, okay, what did they do? And you mentioned time of possession, big deal. It certainly is. But assuming Ole Miss is on the field for more than they were in that game, what is Carolina's defense? How are they going to hold up? How's the pressure going to look like? Are they going to make life uncomfortable for Jackson Dart? Because when he is comfortable, he's pretty damn good. So are you able to do that? And then, look, I don't think it is a great Ole Miss defense. I think they're good, and they had success in the portal, but I think Carolina can hit them for some big plays in this game. And I do think it will be a close game.
Yeah, I did too. I was actually a little bit surprised when the line came out at 10. It has been bet down to 9. I thought it was. Yeah. I thought maybe that was a little bit higher. I expected it to be around a touchdown, but that's okay. That's not really this about. To your point on Juice Wells, I agree. I think that. Look, I'm not saying that Juice Wells isn't good. Nobody is. He is good. He's really good, and we know that. But Trey Harris stands on the other side. Trey Harris leads the country in receiving yards, 804 of them, I think, on 49 catches or something ridiculous through 5 games. I think one of the things that when it comes to Juice Wells, I was invited on a program out of Tallahassee earlier this week to talk about this game.
Okay.
Yeah, Tallahassee.
A Seminole show talking Gamecocks.
No, it's a little bit more of a national show. It's just a guy who he's from Tallahassee. He originates out of Tallahassee. College football addiction.
Nice.
And I mentioned to TJ, I said, hey, look, here's the deal. I think Juice Wells will probably have a couple of snags in the game. I'm sure he'll be targeted. Most importantly, though, in this game, Shane was asked about it yesterday. You've got to stay out of the nonsense. Don't cost you. Look, Ole Miss and South Carolina are already way too penalized. Both of them. Carolina's had way too many penalties. Ole Miss has had way too many penalties. Both of them have had a tough time this year getting. Don't let that be a distraction in this game and cost you 15 yards somewhere, or cost you an ejection for targeting or something ridiculous like that. I know that's been a point of emphasis in that building. Hey, look, we're not happy about it, but we're playing Ole Miss. We're not playing Juice Wells. You got to go play football. If you want to get back at and win the game, don't cost yourself the game by doing something silly or stupid. So, and I think they will be disciplined on that. But, it's football, Mike. You get caught in the heat of the moment and things happen. Somebody said something about somebody's mama, and the next thing you know, there's a fight breaking out. So I think that's going to be really more of a point of emphasis. Now, none of us will be able to see or hear any of that because they all have helmets on, and we're not going to be on the field with them. But it certainly is an interesting point. And to your point too about the Ole Miss defense, I like them up front. The secondary is where I feel like they've got some question marks. But I do like them up front. I'm not calling them elite or anything like that, but they are good up front. There's no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna.
Walter Nolan was
Walter
everybody
Nolan
in the
play.
country wanted him.
Absolutely. I mean, these guys up front can play. I mean, there's no doubt. And so I think that Carolina's got their hands full there. But having 2 weeks to kind of scheme and game plan for this ball game, we'll find out. I think Lenoris is going to be okay from what I'm hearing. And Rocket, I would say that seems to be a little bit more on the iffy side, but based on what I'm hearing. I'm not saying it's factual. But tonight we'll get a report out per SEC rules, and we'll see where those guys are. Either way, whether it's Lenoris Sellers or Robbie Ashford, you have to utilize their legs in this game. They did it last week with Brock Vandegrift, who's not as good of a runner as either one of these two gentlemen. And it was able to effectively move the ball down the field, even though Kentucky was only 4-16 on third down, right? They still had a bunch of short fourth downs, I think one big one, and they were able to complete those, stay on the field, and continue to keep the Ole Miss offense off of it. That's going to be crucial this weekend, too, for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, look, I'm glad Robbie Ashford put on a clinic against Akron, but Lenoris Sellers gives you the best chance to win. I don't even think it's close. You have to have a threat of a passing game in a game like this, and so I'll be have my ear to the grindstone to get updates from people like yourself and JC on what is the latest there. Look, a dinged up Rocket Sanders is not a good thing either, but I just think you have to have a healthy Lenoris Sellers if you're going to win this game. Yeah,
I would agree with that. Now I will say, they won with Brock Vandegrift last week, who did make some nice throws, but he is sketchy as a quarterback.
But you have to respect
that he can throw.
He can throw. I mean, he will for a reason. It clearly wasn't his legs. Robbie Ashford is a nice number 2, but he's not. You know what it's going to look like against that Ole Miss defense, which is clearly better than Akron. If he's under center. It is a stacked box beyond belief, and it's just daring him to throw, which means if you're trying to run the ball, which I think is imperative in this game, it's going to be tough sledding. So I would say that it'd be very beneficial to have Lenoris Sellers in this game starting quarterback.
We are just getting started here. It's 11:22. It is Wednesday, October the 2nd. So glad to be back on the air again. First of all of you that are watching or listening today or live, and then we'll come back and watch or listen a little bit later on. Many of you going through the things you're going through. We're talking about areas in the western side of South Carolina, Augusta, Georgia, North Augusta, South Carolina, Bamberg, Lake Greenwood area, all those areas. We know about the upstate. We know clearly about so many different parts of South Georgia, the middle of Georgia, the mountains of Georgia, western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, western Virginia, Florida. Look, everybody, if you haven't directly been affected, knows somebody that has been affected by Hurricane Helene. This is a bad thing, and we know that. We're going to do everything we can to carry on with football to try to separate you from reality a little bit here and there. But I want to make something very clear. We have a chat box. I know that people know that it's here soon, and it was supposed to be this week. We are going to be offering something called Club Chief, and the chat box will be part of that in order for you to participate in it. We've elected to push that off so you can use the chat box. If you have, I see Chris is in there with Nana's Porch, who says, please see his post on the Big Spur about the Nana's Porch disaster response and help. If you've got anything pertaining to the hurricane that we can use our platform for to help project, put it in there and we'll project it. Okay. That's part of what we're here for. We're a part of your family, just like you're a part of ours. And in times like these, sometimes you got to get the word out of something and you don't know how else to do it. Well, here we are. We're right here. We got about 15,000 people a day that watch or listen to this show. So if you want to use our chat box to help, or to ask for help or whatever it is, we got your back and it's open, and we'll continue to monitor that and do everything we can to help the people who have helped build our program and our platform and our network and those things. We're very thankful for all of you, and we're here to do anything we possibly can. Maybe one of you can change your lives if you've gone through this disaster by buying a Carolina Jackpot scratch-off. If you enter your tickets online or in the Players Club app, you've got a chance to win $50, $75, or $100,000 live in an upcoming top-ranked women's basketball game. See sceducationlottery.com for game odds and details. Pick up your Carolina Jackpot scratch-offs in a location near you. We will step aside for a timeout. JC will join. John Whittle will join later since we didn't get him earlier this week. Stephen Garcia will join, and we hope all of you will stick around here on ITG.
Hey, this is Cornbread Cowboy, and you're listening to the show. We'll be right back.
If you're a fan of music, incredible storytelling,
one of our friends had met this beautiful girl at the bar that night.
a bit of history, you should check out my new show, Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis. Every episode features a unique South Carolina town, a different stage, and music from world-class singer-songwriters. Join me for Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lurie Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products and out-of-state locations. Gamecock owned and operated. Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. Thebarndominiumco.com.
Well, it won't be at night. Maybe the end of it could be, but That place will be sold out again. How about that? 4 for 4 here in 2024. Carolina football has sold out every home game they have played, and it will be 80,000 again packed in to watch the 12th ranked Rebels and the Gamecocks, Mike, on Saturday afternoon on ESPN. That is immediately followed by Clemson and Florida State. DJ Uiagalelei not playing in that game. Elsewhere in the SEC, coming off of the results that we had this past weekend. Hey, man, I like this slate this weekend. Just kind of an FYI. Obviously, Carolina Ole Miss should be a competitive game. Missouri and A&M is going to tell us a lot about both of those programs. The Aggies are 2-0. They play at noon on ABC before the Rebels and the Gamecocks. Hey, dude, Auburn's a bigger underdog to Georgia than Vanderbilt is to Alabama. I'm not so sure either one of those will be very competitive. But Tennessee and Arkansas has got a chance to be something decent at Razorback Stadium Saturday night. And then, Mike, Billy, you just can't lose to UCF on Saturday
They're an
night.
underdog.
They are an underdog.
They're an underdog in that game. I mean, honestly, look, I remember covering the end of Brad Scott, and for that matter, the end of Lou Holtz. And it gets to a point where your fan base, first, it's apathetic. I don't really care because I don't like this coach.
Mm-hmm.
Then when it really gets ugly, and this is what it was like under Brad, and I think even for some people under Lou, it's a little bit of, you know what? If this will help if this will help expedite a coaching change, I kind of hope he loses. I think that's where a lot of Florida fans are. I don't think they're really concerned about win or lose. In their mind, the change already has to be made. And, with every loss just becomes the, I have this term we use on JC and Morgan, pound of flesh loss, where your fan base is just so damn angry. They want a pound of flesh. Firing Billy Napier today versus 3 weeks from now doesn't really make a difference. Oh, you're going to hire an interim coach? What does that do? Nothing. But you just want, he hasn't officially been fired. So some fans are like, yeah, I need this to be a slam dunk. And that's how I remember Gamecock fans were at the end of Brad, like, just go ahead and lose already so we can get this guy out of here.
Mm-hmm.
For Lou, just go ahead and get it over with. It's clearly two good Outback Bowls and get on with it. I mean, Will Muschamp, look, if you're being honest about it, I mean, there are a lot of people that just couldn't wait to see Will Muschamp go. So just go ahead and start losing. I mean, honestly, if you want to talk about it more recently in baseball, there were some people, we heard from them, that were pulling for Carolina to not get to a regional because they were worried if somehow he did, that he wouldn't be fired. Well, he was fired anyway. So my point is that when fan bases really want to change, sometimes they almost, I don't want to say are rooting for a loss, but they don't mind seeing it.
Well, Hunter, look, I remember I remember entering the 2020 season with Coach Muschamp, and it was very apathetic. And then obviously with King, that was apathy at its greatest point because Carolina baseball is so beloved. And that was really sad to see. And you're right about Florida. I think that's where they are, and that they're going to even go further down that rabbit hole if they get beat. Now, I'm not so sure that they will get beat. I was a little bit surprised by what happened in Orlando on Saturday with Primetime and the Buffaloes coming in and taking it right to Gus Malzahn and the Knights. But if they do beat the Gators, Mike, look, you look at what remains for Florida, and I only see one game that I see two maybe, but certainly one that seems somewhat winnable, and it's crazy to think that that's on the road in Tallahassee at the end of the year. That's the way it looks now. Things change. The other one I would mention would be Kentucky, but I like Kentucky a lot better than I like Florida.
Well, yeah. I mean, Xavier asked, what if Billy wins out? There's no way Billy's winning out. But that schedule, the hope was that you went like 4-1 in the first 5. Then the last 7.
Then survive.
That's where it really gets ugly. Now, Florida State's Florida State right now is a dog with fleas because they don't look like they want to play. I mean, the second half of that SMU game looked like a team that just simply does not want to be out there and play tackle football.
100%
And
agree.
unfortunately, that happens sometimes in college, and now more than ever. Now more than ever, where these kids are already talking to their, let's just say, intermediaries and asking about where can I transfer and how much. So it's so it can happen so quickly, even to a team that was 13-0 at one point last year, where you have no control. Like Mike Norvell didn't forget how to coach. They didn't lose a ton of key staff members from a year ago, right? Sound like they had this whiz of a defensive coordinator that took over a head coaching job somewhere else. It's not that. It's a difference in talent. And then when your kids are not all in, look out. Look out. It can spiral out of control in a hurry. And again, to go back to Brad Scott, to go back to our interview with Sheldon Brown, there were guys that clearly quit. That was before the portal. Clearly, flat out quit. You could see it on the field. It was clear as day. Guys just watching people run by, guys not giving any hustle, rumors of guys sabotage. I mean, it was bad. And that's every coach's worst fear and nightmare, how quickly it can turn around.
Let me ask you this, spur of the moment. You'll love this. You'll be like, oh, thanks, man. How about a little heads up? From a most concerning to a least concerning, like I am most concerned about this program based on where they are right now with the leadership and the players they have in it and everything that's going on. Auburn, Florida, Florida State, North Carolina. Where would you rank those as far as most concerned, least concerned?
Well, okay.
They all seem to be in the most concerned.
Yeah, North Carolina's going to make a coaching change. I don't think there's any question about that. Matt can either frame it as a retirement or he can be stubborn and just play it out to the end. He's gone. Billy Napier, I believe, is gone. Florida State, I mean, Florida State fans are talking about Mike Norvell's buyout, which, by the way, is insane. Have you looked at his buyout?
Like $60 million or something?
It's not happening. It's just, it's not happening. And nor should it. Nor should it. Do you remember where Florida State was? You want Willie Taggart back? And then what was the last one?
Auburn.
Auburn is intriguing as hell. Yeah. Auburn is just they're the gift that keeps on giving. Because if you like drama and you have no vested interest in it, and I have a lot of friends who are Auburn fans, Auburn graduates, and the life of an Auburn fan, it's a good way to see a cardiologist before the age of 40. Because they do have highs. Their highs are better than most fans' highs, right? National championship 2010. The guy they fired, Gus Malzahn, beat the GOAT not once, not twice, but 3 times. SEC championships, playing for another national championship. They remind you now and then that they can be a national power. But for the most part, they are a clear second fiddle to Alabama. Always have been, probably always will be. And so when you have that taste of incredible success, and then you have the mess of Brian Harsin, then you have the year that they're having now. Well, last year was not good, but people are like, well, it's year 1 of Hugh Freeze. That's a rebuild. Fans don't allow a 2-year, nonetheless 3 or 4-year rebuild anymore because of the portal. And the question is, how did you not get a better quarterback in the portal than Thorne? How did you not pull that off if you're Auburn? Because they certainly are not afraid to spend money over there on the plains. So Hugh Freeze is not on the hot seat. I know John Cohen well, the AD. I watched him interviewed late last week. John Cohen, former baseball coach, by the way, he is all in on Hugh Freeze and is pointing out that they knew this was going to take some time. That's what you want to hear from your AD if you're the head coach. I don't know if you want to hear it if you're the fan base, but that's what you want to hear. So they're not making a change. And I think they'll turn it around. But this year could be another long year.
When you And I'm not. I hate talking about firing coaches and stuff like that. Like most all these people are actually really good people. And, we talk about them like they're video games. You just go create a new coach. And that's, so I really have long despised the conversations, but they do come up and we do have a job to do. As you pointed out, at least one of those programs is going to have an opening, if not two. I don't think there'll be any more, but if any one of those programs does open, there are so many names. Like you hear Lane Kiffin to Florida all the time, and you hear Eli Drinkwitz is a name that's come up. You hear all these things. Mike, there is one name that I don't care who they are. It could be any of them. There's one name that I would circle before all the other ones, and that's Bill O'Brien. I mean, we talked about a little bit about this last week, right? You need like stability, and you need somebody who has literally seen this guy. What has he not seen? I mean, look what he did at Penn State, and he's worked for Nick Saban, and look what he had to do in the NFL, not only as the head football coach, but as the GM. And he's up in Boston. Like he has such a huge, wide variety of different situations. I don't really know how to describe what I'm trying to say right now, but he's been through the thick of it in about every way you can go through the thick of it. And but see, he's not a sexy hire though. That's the thing. Now he would be sexy at Boston College, wins like 11 games this year. He becomes sexy in a hurry, but he's just not like a sexy hire as it stands today. UNC, Florida wants the high flying offense, and everybody's gonna, they want Steve Spurrier reincarnated. That's what they want.
2.0, and that's Lane.
It's not gonna. That's
Lane and Steve Spurrier. Don't get me wrong.
That's as close as you'll
Spurrier's
get.
a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
I don't think Lane Kiffin is a Hall of Fame coach, but in terms of style, flair, and productivity, Lane is the guy. It's not even close. Lane is number one, and then there's a chasm, and then there's names. I mean, if you go on Vegas.com or these betting sites, Jamie Chadwell is the Vegas favorite for the Florida job. Now, I don't know where they got that from. I don't see it. I think Jamie's done a great job. I've covered Jamie. He's got some swag to him as well.
Yeah.
In fact, just met him at the Spurrier Awards back in March, and had a good talk with him. And he's very happy at Liberty, and Liberty's got gobs and gobs of money, but obviously it's a different level job. But I just that one doesn't. It's almost a feeling of Lane or bust there. As far as North Carolina, I don't know. They're not going to be able to covet. Well, they can covet, but they're not going to be able to get that level of name, because it's not that level of job. Yeah, I could see North Carolina going after Jamie. Absolutely. A couple people in chat room mentioned that.
Jamie's very calculated about his moves, Mike.
100%.
Very calculated.
Remember, he could have left Coastal far before he did.
Mm-hmm.
He basically was like, no, I'm waiting for the right one. And then people were like, well, Liberty's the right one. I don't know about Jerry Falwell's. I just know they got a ton of money and a ton of resources. When Toman was there, he talked about it. When Jeff Barber, who you and I both know was the AD, he talked about it. Like when you ask for something from the Liberty administration, more often than not, it's almost like a mini SMU. The answer is yes. We'll find the money. But I don't think anybody believes it's going to be there forever. But I think that the hot names that are emerging. I mean, you just mentioned most of them. There'll be a couple others that pop. I mean, Cignetti at Indiana, who is 5-0, is doing one of the best jobs in America. The problem with him is he's about 64, 65-ish. And that's a hard sell for a lot of programs to hire someone in that demo.
Where does Dan Mullen fall in all of this? Does he want to coach again? Do you know?
Great question. I think I don't talk to Dan a lot. I saw him at the seminar. He's in a real happy place right now. And look, you wouldn't be human if somebody who fired you after going to 3 consecutive New Year's Day bowl games, beat Georgia once, right? Played in an SEC championship game within a touchdown of beating Saban's Alabama team. You wouldn't be human if you looked at what's happening in Gainesville and you kind of laughed and sat back and smoked a cigar and said, looks like I wasn't the problem, was I? Okay. His stock is going up doing nothing because what everybody is seeing before their eyes is he wasn't the problem. Now, you could say he didn't recruit as well and he wasn't motivated to recruit, and all that might be true. But that's why you hire staff members, and that's why you have a collective, and that's why you have NIL. Because you can be the hardest working recruiter in the world. An extra $50,000 is where that kid's likely going, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised. Mullen can sit back there. TV doesn't pay like coaching, but it pays okay. He could just sit back there and cherry pick. Do I like this job? Do I not like that job? I mean, Lou Holtz did that. Lou Holtz sat there at the CBS desk. There are other programs that certainly kicked the tires on Lou Holtz. And he sat there and he looked at it and he goes, South Carolina. Yeah, I can do some stuff there. And let's face it, the expectations weren't great after Brad Scott and Sparky Woods. Yeah, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. So that's what Dan Mullen is doing. He's going to do the TV route. Mac Brown did it as well. He's going to sit back and he's going to smoke a cigar and he's going to do his little studio show and he's going to give his hot takes here and there. And then he's going to say, no, that's okay too. I got a nice buyout. I'll never be hurting for cash. But if the right opportunity comes along, yeah, I still got plenty of coaching left in the tank.
2 other names I'll throw at you, and then we'll hit a timeout here.
After we mention our great sponsors, yes.
You absolutely. 2 names not being brought up with really, at least that I'm aware of, with any job out there. One of them probably way off the radar. He's a first-time head coach, but a guy like Fran Brown at Syracuse, very likable, great recruiter, doing a nice job early. It's early. Got a long ways to go. He's a guy you'll watch, of course, throughout the year. He's originally from New Jersey, but he actually played his football at Western Carolina in the beautiful mountains of Western North Carolina, who is going through as difficult a time as we've ever seen for that area. And then another one, kind of renewing the name. I don't know what the contract is. Haven't done enough research. But Matt Campbell at Iowa State, all of a sudden, here they are again, Mike. They're 4-0. And their defense is really, really good. Now, they're not a high-flying offense by any stretch of the imagination, at least that they've shown thus far. But here they are once again at 4-0 at Iowa State. Who the hell wants to go to Ames, Iowa? And he has found a way to make that program very respectable. He's had 2 losing seasons since he's been the head football coach. His first one in 2016 and then in 2022. Outside of that, they've had a winning record every single year, including that 9-3 back in 2020. And you just wonder if things continue to stay on track. 4-0, maybe he wins 8-9 games again out there with the Cyclones. Somebody, are they going to throw a bunch of money at him? I don't know. But those are 2 names that people just haven't mentioned. And I've noticed their program's having a nice start to the year. You got to figure if that continues, they'll come up.
Yeah, I don't know if Brown has the same sizzle as Campbell. You mentioned people aren't talking about Campbell now. Campbell, a few years ago, was the hottest name out there. Not only did he have his pick of college jobs, he could have taken some pro jobs. Now, Iowa State G'd him up. They got into all that Ames farm money or whatever. I kid. I've been out to Ames quite a few times. It's actually a great fan base. Really is. The town itself, it's like a Starkville, honestly. And he took the guaranteed money and realized, hey, I don't have to worry about getting fired. I'm a god right now in Ames, Iowa. But I think that the second time around, his stock is going to get hot again. Yeah, I think there's a good chance he jumps at something. And I think he's a very good coach. I think somebody would be lucky to have him for sure.
I do too.
That'll be interesting to see. Speaking of great individuals and successful individuals, we've got a couple that are well represented on this show. I've talked before about Troy Branham and so many people out there right now affected by a number of things economically, including interest rates. There is some recent good news. But no matter where the rates are, you can always get the best service and the best rates from Troy Branham of Golden Gate. Should mention Golden Gate Mortgage, by the way, that's local. That is a South Carolina run business, has been since 1999. A little more about Troy, the handsome gentleman you see in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. 1994 graduate of USC, 20-year plus season ticket holder. He'll be there on Saturday for the Ole Miss game. But just getting to know him over time, a guy that you really want on your side, multiple options for each individual buyer, conventional, FHA, VA, USDA loans. He's got you covered. So sometimes it's just really good to have people in the business that you know can be helpful. Again, his number is 803-238-0111, 238-0111. That's no matter where you are in the state of South Carolina. It's not just a Columbia business, of course. And another one is Joe Lurie of Lurie Life and Health. Do you have health insurance, Jamie? Are you I got to be honest with you. Like, I start thinking about these things now.
Yeah, well, as mandated by my wife, whom happens to be a doctor, I have health insurance.
Okay, smart. Smart. They can help you with health insurance, life insurance. Take the advice of Jamie's wife. Take good care of yourself. So obviously, if you are a family member or Medicare age, all that can be helpful as well. And with Joe Lurie, the service is free. Absolutely free. They've got a great FMO support team, over 100 years of combined experience helping clients and agents with all those things: Medicare, health, life insurance. 803-256-2067. You will not do better for these needs than Joe Lurie of Lurie Life and Health.
It is 11:50. We'll take a quick timeout, return with a couple of little nuggets to round out hour one, and then Stephen Garcia will join us right at noon. Inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barn Co. We'll be right back.
Oh, man, the building is on fire.
Emergencies and accidents happen. When you're in the middle of a fire or water event, all you want is for things to return to normal as soon as possible. Resto Pros of the Midlands is with you, guiding you through the process and working with you to get your home or office back in working order. They'll answer your questions, discuss procedures, and can act as your advocate when it comes to processing your insurance claim. Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. Open 24/7 when you need them. Quality that is guaranteed.
Edward Jones is a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show, on the Chief Sports Network. Call me, financial advisor Eric Ponder, at 864-862-2161 for all your investment needs. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
The electric grid that had been placed under Lambeau so that the field would never freeze.
Those two things are all the NCAA has. That's all they have. They're not worth anything without the men's basketball tournament and now the women's tournament.
Listen to these interviews and more on the JC and Morgan podcast by downloading the Chief Sports app. Part of the Chief Sports Network.
Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. Thebarndominiumco.com. Gamecock owned and operated.
Morning, Carl. Usual?
Yeah.
Your oldest was in here the other day. Said the two of you took a trip down to my neck of the woods. How'd that go?
You might as well give me one of those Carolina cards while you're at it.
I knew I liked that one.
Yeah.
There you go, my friend.
Thanks.
Hey, Carl. Congratulations.
See you tomorrow, Freddie.
You bet.
right, final quick segment here. Hour 1, Steven Garcia will join us right at noon, and we'll slip him out of here at 12:20 today so he can run around and do a couple of things. In case you missed the news, South Carolina will be hosting a ton of big-time players this weekend, and one of them is Malik Clark, and you may remember a few months ago when he committed to Florida State, we mentioned, keep your eyes on this one. And he did decommit from the Noles, and he will be back in town this weekend. South Carolina has a great chance to flip the 4-star wideout from beautiful Rock Thrill, South Carolina. So excited to see him back on campus this weekend. And then also, I mean, look, Carolina fans have long been some of the nation's best, no matter what sport it is. And this just only continues to drive this home. Now, it does matter that this program is the best program in the country. There's no question. But still, this is wild. Per a release just a few moments ago from our buddy Diana Koval with South Carolina women's basketball, the program has sold out. They have sold out their season ticket allotment for the first time ever. 13,046 season tickets have been sold and assigned, including every seat in the lower level. That is wild. All remaining seats in the 18,000-seat Colonial Life Arena will be sold on a single game basis. Over 13,000 season tickets for a women's college basketball program, regardless of national championship or not. Mike, we've been around a while. There's been the Tennessees and the UConns, et cetera, of the world. That has never been done. That is just wild. Congratulations to them.
Winning brings great results attendance-wise. I would hope that that Lamont Paris squad would get some pretty good season ticket buys as well. I know they're probably a little more expensive, but he's put together a good product. Expected to have another exciting team. I would think that the CLA will be rocking for men's basketball this year as well.
It'll be rocking in a few minutes. Steven Garcia, shirt on, shirt off. We'll find out when we return.
There's nothing like Saturday in South Carolina. However you enjoy Gamecock football, Gamecock Traditions has a long-standing legacy of being a part of your game day. From tailgates to touchdowns, Gamecock Traditions has what you need and want with our beloved Block C logo. Get into Gamecock Traditions in Lexington or the Village at Sand Hill, or visit GamecockTraditions.com and have it shipped to your doorstep. We look forward to taking care of your family. Go Gamecocks.
I'm not allowed to tell the ref how bad he is, so I'm going to need you to do that for me. Oh. He said, you're gone.
I'm a beggar who could use some help. I'm a seeker, searching for myself. I'm a rolling stone, just waiting on a friend. I'm a lover, wishing on a star for another, with a broken heart to hold each other close till the end.
Switching is easy. We do it all the time. In fact, State Farm agent Tony Pope, right here in South Carolina, can switch you over so you can start saving today. Tony and his team are ready to welcome you to the State Farm neighborhood. With Tony Pope, it's easy to switch and save. Just give him a call, 843-884-3400. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple, delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com, and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com, man, that's good.
It is noon, and it is the anthem, and it is ITG. Mike Morgan, JB, and well, I mean, come on, you can't set it up any better than this. The anthem, Garcia, the American flag behind him, and is that President Trump with a beer in his hand? Is that what you've got? You're muted, so make sure you unmute yourself.
That's John Gruden.
Oh, that's John.
It's Gruden, yeah.
With a brew. This is perfect. Hey, John. We were just talking about him. Where's he going to? Is he going to coach the Gators next year, Steven?
Shit, I don't know. I don't know.
Where did you get that? I have never seen a John Gruden. It's not even a bobblehead. It's like a figurine. Oh, it is a bobblehead. That's a big bobblehead.
Yeah, he actually signed it too.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was an ambassador for Corona. I'm sure you remember those commercials. And my uncle was the president of our distribution company down here in Tampa. And they're just big friends or whatever. So my uncle moved there or whatever. And he's like, hey, man, I got this John Gruden bobblehead if you want. I was like, hell yeah, I'll take it.
Heck yeah.
That is sweet.
That's fantastic.
Oh, man. Well, we got Steven has his sleeves on today. He's he's got to head out and go to school, right, and meet with some teachers. So we'll get you out of here in just a few minutes. But hey, did you watch Kentucky and Ole Miss this weekend?
I did.
What'd you think about that? What'd you take away from that game that would relate to how South Carolina will try to take on the Rebels?
I mean, I thought that Ole Miss originally was going to beat their ass, just based on how we kind of dismantled Kentucky. But the fact that Kentucky just absolutely got after them on defense, I think that bodes really well for kind of what we're going to be able to do, especially being at home, especially after coming off a bye week. I've talked to a couple of people, and again, maybe Ole Miss is pissed off about the game, and they're going to try to take it out on the Gamecocks. I just don't see it. I think we're gonna do really well.
All right, so Jackson Dart is awesome. I love watching this kid play football. Steven, those type of offenses that click, 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 when they can't get on the field, they seem to get all out of whack. Did you see that on Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what I was kind of getting at, is that I think our defensive front is going to cause some major havoc for them. And again, I do think that Jackson Dart's one of the elite quarterbacks in not only the SEC but the entire country. And I'm a fan of the way he plays, but if you get these guys off the field, pretty quick, it's going to be a long day for him, I think.
What does a moment like this feel like, Steven? I know this isn't number one Alabama coming in like they did in 2010, but this team's had an off week to get healthy. They won after they beat Akron after getting heartbroken against LSU. You've got one of the best teams in the country coming to town. You've got a sold-out environment. It's going to be a 3:30 start. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yeah. You of course, were part of the 2009 team that took down the Rebels the last time that they were in Columbia, ranked 4th in the nation. What is this week like for this program as they work towards Saturday?
I mean, I think you just take it as one game at a time, and I'm pretty sure that's what Coach Beamer's saying. I think I was talking with some of the local students, or not the local students, but Carolina students had me on their podcast last night, and they were kind of talking about it as well. But it's you take every single game as it is, and I think going into the season, we're kind of looking at the Ole Miss game like, okay, that's a loss. Oklahoma, that's a loss. Alabama, that's a loss. We're all talking about all these losses. Kentucky's a loss. So then we beat Kentucky's ass. We should have beat LSU. We beat the hell out of Akron. Got a bye week. Now all of a sudden, Ole Miss is definitely beatable, especially after them losing to Kentucky at home. Oklahoma isn't anything special. Alabama, on the other hand, I mean that is Alabama. That's a different story. But Ole Miss is definitely beatable, and I think, like I said, man, I think we have a hell of a shot. And the fact that Vegas has them as 10-point favorites is kind of wild.
I mentioned that too. I'm glad somebody who actually bets on sports agrees with me there. Anybody can cut bet Steven, Mike and Steven. They're going to be cut betting each other.
TT.com. I don't know what T's are, but I know what T's are. I got to be careful with the next thing that comes out of my mouth. Might be something different. The promo code Gamecocks and bet Steven Garcia, and as much as you love him, you'll love him even more when you take his money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good luck.
I used to be the Georgia-Bama game kind of screwed me up a little bit.
Oh, did you take a beating on that?
A
Just
little bit.
straight point spread bet or like a prop?
Point spread. But then, I did a live bet with the over, so the over on the points. So that was pretty nice.
The over was what was the over? Was it like 48?
It was 51 when I put my bet in.
Oh, was it really?
Was
it
that high?
Because it was 47, I think, last Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying I did like a live bet on the,
you did it live. Well, it must have been first quarter if you got 51 because it was like 51 at the half.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I saw Bama's first drive. I was like, yeah, this game might get out of control. So luckily it did.
On that note, like obviously when you guys lit it up against Bama in 2010, that was pretty good Bama defense too. But we've seen this before, and my theory is the amount of pros on both those defenses are staggering, right? You got 5 stars all over the place. But great offense in college football, unlike the NFL, trumps great defense almost every time. And so while those defenses are great and they have athletes all over the team speed, team size, neither one of them had an answer, particularly in the second half, for those offenses. Is that something you just generally expect in college football when you have that level of, for example, quarterback play and wide receivers, that no matter what the defense does, we're going to score on you?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think over the last couple of years, the defenses are just handicapped now. If you touch a quarterback, it's a 15-yard, unsportsmanlike roughing the passer penalty. If you maybe grab a little bit of a jersey on the defensive side of the ball with, the corners or safeties, it's going to be some sort of flag. You can't hit anybody. You can't tackle anybody. So, why not take a shot down the field and see what the hell happens?
Mm-hmm.
That definitely, helps the offense. But also, I think the specialized training with, the quarterback training, the receiver training that these guys are doing, during the offseason, not only with their coaches, but with, guys like myself and, the receiver coaches that are around the country that are doing this stuff. These guys are getting open and they're making plays. You got a 17-year-old kid from Alabama, even though he had the kill everybody, thing, which is how is that legal? That's a whole
he
other...
explained. Yeah, he did explain that it's from the where he supposedly that's from. Gamecock fans will appreciate this. The movie The Program, filmed in Columbia. Now, I still haven't seen that movie from start to finish, but that's what he references with the kill everybody. So somebody can help me on what that exactly is from.
Yeah, I've seen The Program, but that was a long damn time ago.
Well, yeah, it was 1990.
I was there when they filmed it during halftime of the Tennessee game, I think it was, in 92.
I think they filmed Yesterday's, the restaurant. Wasn't some of the
they filmed. They used a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways.
But yeah,
that's what
regardless of the kill everybody thing, that kid is a hell of a player.
Yeah, he is. The Ole Miss defense up front is I like those guys. Hey, Walter Nolan transferred in from A&M, great player, but he's not the only one. They got a bunch of good players up there. They do seem a little bit suspect though in the secondary. Bunch of holding and pass interference. It got a little grabby. Last week in the UK game. So when you see that, Stephen, when that happens out there, and dudes are putting hands all over your guys, and do you make it what's going on the sidelines? Are hey, look, we're going to try to draw flags here. Like, how do you attack that?
I think you just, Coach Spurrier was hard-headed as I was, and he was going to do whatever he wanted to do, regardless of what the defense was doing. So it's kind of difficult to say. I don't think you necessarily want to just rely on penalties. If you're an offense, you kind of want to move the ball and do it at your own accord. But watching film, I think you do know that these guys are going to be putting hands. So maybe do a little bit more acting. You have a little bit of hold. Flail your arms up, try to get some easy yardage. But, at the end of the day, these guys gotta make plays and move the ball and keep the ball out of Ole Miss's offense's hands.
Like Kentucky did. 30.
Exactly.
They were on the field for almost 40 minutes, dude. 40 minutes.
I saw that. It was unbelievable.
I think Ole Miss only ran like 55 plays in the game or something like that. And they are so quick strike. The more plays they get, the more, obviously. That's what I'm most curious to see is how South Carolina, can again. I don't know how else to say this. I think it's just pretty. I think it's when I say it just should make sense. Like that's the blueprint for how you beat teams like this. Stay on the field, chop, chop, chop. Now, Carolina has got to get better at converting third downs. Kentucky wasn't any good at it either. Now, Ole Miss was terrible. They were just 1 of 10 offensively. So the Kentucky defense did their job. But the Kentucky offense was like 4 of 16, but they were 3 of 3 or something like that on fourth downs. Carolina has had some success lately on fourth down conversions as well. But I think when it comes to that this weekend, like if you want to look at like a stat, like if you're a stat boy or a stat gal and you like stats, I just have a feeling that third down conversion for percentage for the Gamecock offense is going to be really, really important.
No, I agree. And, you know, I don't think Ole Miss's defensive line is as good as LSU's. You know, that's my personal opinion. That being said, I mean, we ran the ball up and down LSU's freaking throat. So I foresee these guys, you know, kind of run the ball. And have they stated if Sellers is starting yet, or they're going to wait till game time?
No. I mean, he'll be listed on the injury report that'll be released tonight on the SEC, SECsports.com. I mean, look, my understanding is most likely Lenore Sellers will be out there. Not so sure on Rocket, although I think he's progressed nicely. How about that? Like we saw Robbie. I mean, it was just Akron. I get it. We all know that. We talked about this last week, Stephen. Mm-hmm. But from a confidence standpoint, he did grow a lot in that game, and we've learned a lot about that since.
No doubt.
So, you know, how comfortable if for some reason Lenoris it can't go or can't go the entire game, or, you know, where do you stand from a confidence level with Robbie Ashford coming back in and having to try to go out and win this game this weekend, just based on what you've seen?
I mean, I think confidence makes up, and I was talking with one of the dads of a quarterback that I work with, you know, yesterday, and you know, they got their ass beat, and you know, he's like, yeah, his confidence was down, and this. And I was like, if you're confident, I mean, your confidence is 90% of playing this position. You know, Tom Brady wasn't the most athletic guy, didn't throw the greatest ball, but he is the most confident human being, maybe, you know, other than like a Michael Jordan. So I mean, the confidence level is huge, and I think you know, with Robbie's performance, you know, last week, I think that was a huge confidence booster. You know, when you who are the receivers that asked if the game plan changed? Wasn't Mazio?
They asked Mazio, and
and they were like, yeah, it didn't change one damn bit. So when you got guys that are confident, you know, behind you, I think that that's huge. So you know, I'm fully expecting the Lenoris to play. I'd be shocked if he doesn't, but you know, if he doesn't, or you know, he gets hurt, I got a lot of confidence in Robbie to get the job done.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I don't want. It's a little bit off topic. So if you were still on,
the only thing I was going to add, when y'all played Alabama in 2010. I know this isn't Alabama, but weren't y'all coming off of an off week as well after getting beat at Auburn?
Yep.
Had the off week and then went out and beat Alabama. Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of people are always interested into what added value that is for a program when you get that off week ahead of a big ball game. I know they got 3 days off last week. The kids did, coaches did, of course.
Well, Spurrier had the rep of not working like some coaches use that off week as like a damn boot camp, right? Like it was the Junction Boys. That wasn't Steve's MO, from what I understand, Stephen, that he, you know, it was like, look, we can use this off week, not just physically, but psychologically. Let's take a couple days, you know, let's take it a little easy and not run this like 2 weeks of game practice when we don't have a game. Is that accurate?
Very, very accurate. And I know the players definitely appreciated it. I'm sure the coaches did as well. You know, I remember talking with Coach Mangus, and he's like, it's so much nicer to play for or to coach with a Coach Spur, because, you know, if the weather's nice and, you know, we're having a good practice, he'll call it after an hour and say, hey, you know, let's go play some golf. And like, you know, you guys are done. That's not the case with a lot of the coaches that you read about these days. But yeah, I mean, I remember during our bye weeks, I think our last practice was like on a Tuesday, maybe a Wednesday. And as soon as that practice was over, I hauled ass back here to Tampa. So,
right.
And, you know, I think everybody went home, and I think they needed that. And I know that they needed that. Cause like you said, you gotta get mentally just kind of shut down and just, you know, kind of be a kid again for a minute. And it's definitely vital to not only your physical, but your mental health.
Let me ask you a quarterback question. I'm going to go back to that Georgia-Alabama game, and maybe you can relate it to, without throwing anybody under the bus, to your time at Carolina. I'm watching the end of that Georgia-Alabama game, and this is the receiver in me talking. I'm watching that final play, the final pick by Beck, and Beck did not have a great game. Put up some gaudy numbers, but did not have a great game. That final interception, he's throwing to a 6'3", long as hell receiver named Colby Young. He's going up against a 5'11" defensive back. It looks like just a typical fade, like 50-50 ball, let the athlete make the play throw. Was the throw perfect? No. But the wideout never even gets a hand on it. It almost looks like he's out of the play. I mean, if I'm the quarterback, I'm a little pissed because you got to at least you got to make some adjustment. He looked like, I don't know if he was on a different route. Did I see something there? Because nobody was talking about it, but I'm sitting there going, what the hell is the receiver doing on that play?
It almost looked like he was not expecting to get the ball thrown to him.
Right.
And, obviously Carson saw that matchup and he's like, okay, I like it. I'm going to take it. And clearly they didn't let the receiver know that, hey, man, just so you know, you are eligible to catch this ball.
Right.
So,
even if it's a bad throw, you knock it away. Like, you don't just give up on the play. I thought that was a terrible ending for Georgia.
Yeah, it was confusing to say the least. But
do you ever chew a guy's ass for not on a play like that? Like he just kind of lets up and all of a sudden it's a pick?
Oh, absolutely. Obviously you guys know me fairly well. I'm not afraid to speak my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would give it to I mean, because at the end of the day, like, we're trying to win the damn game. We're trying to move the ball. We're trying to, win championships at the end of the day. And if you're not doing your job and I'm not doing my job, we suck. So if I suck, you need to let me know. But if you suck, I'm sure shit gonna let you know.
Look, here's the thing. I can suck, but you're not allowed to suck. Okay.
Yeah.
You
don't have 5 or 6 guys trying to knock your head off. So
That's right.
and a coach that's freaking ripping your ass from the sideline.
Right. And it's so typical because everybody at the end of the game is like, "Oh, that's a terrible throw by Beck. Beck's awful. Beck's this." That was a terrible play by Colby Young, in my estimation. Like,
I agree with that.
He completely go ahead and watch the play back and ask yourself, what is the wide receiver doing on that play? There's a great play by the DB, who's another freshman for Alabama, by the way. Not taking away anything from him, but you got to help your quarterback out, even if that throw isn't perfect. He just let himself completely get outmaneuvered and didn't even make a play on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was. If I'm Carson Beck, I'm definitely frustrated with that effort. But
Steve, we got to get you out of here in just a second. Final quick thoughts here, though, on Ole Miss and South Carolina. Again, it's a 3:30 ESPN kick on Saturday. It's been bet down. Rebels right now 9-point favorites. The over/under is 53.5. It does at least seems, and sometimes the way it seems isn't the way it goes, but it does seem like if South Carolina wants to pull off an upset on Saturday afternoon, they're going to have to play more of their game and less of Ole Miss's, much like the Wildcats did in Oxford this past weekend. So what are you anticipating seeing now that we've got a good sample size of both of these programs?
Yeah, I think just follow the recipe. I mean, they're obviously a better team than Kentucky. I'm talking about South Carolina is, judging on that week two game. I think you just follow their recipe and, control the clock, make their downs, and, just run a bunch of plays. Don't turn the ball over. I mean, the same cliche stuff that, everybody says. So, yeah, I think you just follow their recipe and you got better athletes and just let the chips fall where they may. But I 100% like our odds. The fact that I guess they were 10-point favorites. Now they're only 9. I'm gonna jump on that as soon as we get off this phone.
KUTT.com if you'd like to challenge the great Stephen Garcia. Look, man, I'm sure we'll be on a text or something later on this afternoon. We seem to be every day about all kinds of stuff. So, but hopefully Memphis is doing his homework. You're about to find out when you get to school, and if not, you give him a nice ass chewing.
It's the fourth grader. It's Celia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
no problem. Young ones are,
no. Jamie encouraging you to berate your 8-year-old.
Yeah, not the fourth grader. Only Memphis. Appreciate everything as always. Tailgate Talks available on the Chief Sports app, hosted by Steven and Pat DeMarco. Can't wait for the game this weekend. Can't wait to have you back next week as always, brother.
Absolutely,
Nod the Gruden bobblehead on the way out for us, Steven. Yeah, there you go. Beautiful. John Gruden agrees with everything you just said.
John, will South Carolina win this weekend?
Oh yeah.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
I tell you, man, I like Carolina in this game.
That's brilliant.
Did you
See
see
you,
his,
brother.
did you see his thing he just posted?
No.
He was posting about Jaden Daniels. I don't know if it's AI or what it was, but he was wearing like a gray sweatshirt, and he's filming it like I'm doing right now. He's like, I'm sweating so much. I'm watching this kid from the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, and that kid can play. I'll tell you what, watching him makes my heart race and makes me sweat. That kid can play. I'm like, oh my God, man, relax.
That's classic. His quarterback camp segments on ESPN back in the day, that was good TV.
He does it here in Tampa.
He still does that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he does it with high school kids now, and he did it with one of the kids that I trained. I was like, shit, let me come out there, man. I'll come out there and talk some ball.
Yeah, you need to get in on that. I'm sure he knows who you are.
Trust me, I see him out at Carrabba's and some of these Italian restaurants all the time.
Hey, Garcia, give me some of them garlic knots.
He's like, you are a hell of a player, man. You are a hell of a player. I would have got you straight. I would have straightened your ass out.
I tell you, man, that Garcia guy.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, good luck.
Straight.
Yeah, I bet you would have. I'm sure you would have Panama Red.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, boys. I appreciate y'all.
All right, brother.
Thanks,
Thank you. See ya.
See ya.
There you go.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Garcia.
See,
All right.
Alshon Jeffrey on that play, if he didn't catch it outright, would have gotten a hand on it. So Steven Garcia knows if I'm throwing to Alshon Jeffrey, guarded by a 5'11 DB, on a simple fade, on a 50-50 ball, if Alshon can't catch it, he's going to at least get his hands on it. It's not going to be a pick. Carson Beck throws that ball. That should never have been a pick. That's, again, just kind of game within the game stuff, because everybody's just like, oh, it's a terrible throw. That throw wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. Interesting way for the game to end. Again, Garcia, KUTT.com. I think it's pretty safe to say he likes Carolina in this one. But if you take part in this, again, a couple of South Carolina guys that came up with cut. It's also on the app. 10% sign-up bonus when you mention Gamecocks. Type in the word Gamecocks. I think we can all remember that one. You can make your own bets. You can make a prop bet. How many touchdowns will Lenora Sellers be responsible for? How many picks will Jackson Dart throw? You can do all that, have some fun with it, challenge your friends, your buddies, strangers, anybody. People on this show, go ahead and sign up, KUTT.com.
It is 12:23. We will step aside for a timeout. Don't go anywhere. Electric Bikes of Charleston powers ITG, and we will be right back.
Mike here for my good friend Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. Let's face it, it's been a rough go for mortgage rates the last couple of years. And now more than ever, you need someone on your side to get you the very best possible rate on a new mortgage or a refi. That's where Troy comes in. 27 years of experience working for you. Conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, rehabilitation loans, all doable with my man Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. And when I say doable, I mean the best possible rate that's out there. It's a phone call that can literally save you thousands of dollars. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. You can also check out the website ggmortgage.com.
When you make the right decision, it feels good. Like picking the perfect accent rug or choosing a good night's sleep over an all-night crime show binge. It feels really good to make the right insurance decision, too. That's why State Farm agent Tony Pope is right here in South Carolina to help you select the right protection at the right price. Tony will make sure you understand your State Farm coverages so you'll know what to expect if the unexpected happens. With State Farm agent Tony Pope, it's easy to make the right choice. Just call him 843-851-2222. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Ah, the summer solstice, when the ho-hum of the everyday is replaced by an overwhelming sense of freedom. A time for living, for rolling the windows down, cranking up the tunes, and blazing new trails. Now is your time. And Love Chevy is celebrating with incredible summer savings on the entire lineup of award-winning new Chevys. Unprecedented savings right now on the ride of your dreams. Love has them all, primed and fully equipped for your next adventure. And right now at the lowest prices of the year. The best prices anywhere, in fact. Love guarantees it. The others are still saying anything to lure you in and let you down with the same old gimmicks and ridiculous add-ons. Love is different. Over 6 decades of honesty and integrity, and the long-standing belief that car buying should actually be a whole bunch of fun. Now is your time at Love Chevy, I-26 at Harbison, and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
Hey Gamecock Nation, my name is Kyle, longtime listener of the show and avid golfer. I wanted to take my game to the next level, but let's face it, golf is a hard game to learn on your own. I heard the ad from McKellar Enterprises and reached out to the owner and former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. In just 2 months of working with Meredith, I shot my lowest round ever, and I've never felt more confident in my golf game. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, go to McKellarEnterprises.org and book your lesson today with former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. Go Gamecocks!
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
For that bumper there, Carolina's going to need some of their men to be the man on Saturday against Ole Miss. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show. Remember, garnet on game day this weekend. They're asking all fans to wear garnet. What does that mean for uniforms? I have no earthly idea, and I don't care. But I will say that we will, of course, help project that request for the university. If you don't have a garnet shirt, or maybe you do, and it's bad, look here. We've all got the go-tos, okay? I've got them in my closet just like anybody else. Mike's got his too for the Braves, and look,
I got go-to suits from Brent Skinner.
Absolutely, you got good luck stuff. You got bad luck stuff. We all know how this works. We've all been doing sports a long time. My wife has pulled shirts out for me before. Hey, I figured I'd pack this for the. Ooh, no, you can't wear that one. This one will do. So if you got the bad luck stuff, it didn't work against LSU. Leave it in the drawer. Head to Gamecock Traditions. Go get your new garnet and get ready to cheer on South Carolina on Saturday afternoon. They've got, of course, other colors like white and black. Outside of that, not much. Pretty much all garnet, black and white at Gamecock Traditions. If you haven't had a chance to check the weather yet for Saturday as well, it's going to be really, really just spectacular. Right now, 83 degrees is the high. There is a 8% chance of rain, and the low is 65. So it's going to be a beautiful day for football in Columbia, South Carolina, and you want to look good while you're cheering them on. Gamecock Traditions, GamecockTraditions.com. Both locations, Village at Sand Hill and in Lexington, will welcome you through their doors. Kind of sliding out. So we got John Whittle coming up at 1, everybody. Got Big John. And can't wait to get to the great John Whittle, who we, of course, missed on Monday. So stepping away a little bit here from the Gamecocks and into this coming Saturday, Mike, what do you think about Arkansas and Tennessee on Saturday evening?
I think Tennessee's too good.
Okay, so Arkansas doesn't have a chance.
Not a great one.
Yeah,
not a great one. They by the way, I mean, that was part of the Fab Five I had A&M. I think that wound up being a push. We'll get to the records, I guess, tomorrow. I think I was 3-1-1, but they blew it. It's the second time this year that they had a game that they really could have won, and they blew it. Auburn, of course, really blew it. There were two SEC teams that just absolutely found a way to lose. And Arkansas was one of them. But no, I just think Tennessee, and look, we're starting to the clouds are starting to separate. The sun is starting to peek through and shine a light on who the best teams in this league are. And very often the best teams in this league are also the best teams in the country. Nothing has changed from my initial thoughts that the top three would be in no particular order: Alabama, Georgia, Texas. I still believe that. Nothing has changed through 1 month, that assessment. I do think Tennessee is a more complete football team than Ole Miss. And I don't know if I would have said that back in like July, but their defense is better than I perhaps anticipated. I was already a believer in Nico, and they're good. They're a playoff team in my estimation.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that 100%. And I do think they're a more complete team than Ole Miss. The thing that,
or Missouri.
Yeah, or Missouri. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. So Arkansas has a case to be 5-0 right now, and they're 3-2. 12 points separating that 3-2 record from the 5-0 record. Of course, losing in double OT against Oklahoma State, and then, as you mentioned, what happened this weekend against the Aggies, 21-17. Neither one of those games, though, was played in Fayetteville. And I feel like this is now look, I'm with you. I mean, Tennessee's the better football team, and it's gonna take some wacky stuff in order for Arkansas to pull off an upset on Saturday night. You know, some kind of strange turnovers and things like that. I get it. But I will give this. I'm a big fan of the Arkansas fan base. Love their crowds. So blue collar. Remind me a lot of South Carolina. And I do think that has a chance to be impactful if they can get some good mojo going early in the game on Saturday night. This is their first opportunity this season to welcome in somebody like this. Oklahoma State on the road, and of course that's a neutral site game last week over there in Jerry World. So I think there will be a little bit of an impact on that. The key is, though, like you mentioned Ole Miss and Tennessee in the comparison, right? And I think that you're right. Tennessee's a more complete team based on their defense being able to get their offense back on the field. But if Arkansas can figure out a way to do a little bit to Tennessee what Kentucky did to Ole Miss last weekend, I don't know about doubling up time of possession. That's awfully hard to do. But if you're able to kind of grind it down and knock Tennessee a little bit off their rocker, Oklahoma did some of this, and you can find a way to get some points, probably going to need a couple big plays to do it. We could see a little bit of a stunner. 13.5, right? Isn't it 13.5? Is that the spread?
I didn't even check it. I know it's a big number. I try to find, like when we're doing the Fab Five, and we already announced the winner of that, right? I'm pretty sure we did. No, we didn't. We couldn't have. It's first day on the air. But we have the winner. I know Phil emailed me, but I don't know if he went 5-0 or what, but we'll announce that later, and we'll do another Fab Five tomorrow. But what I was trying to say is I try to find the games that are, fairly close. And maybe you're right. I mean, maybe Arkansas does so. I mean, for me, it comes down, if you want to keep this thing close, like Talon Green, as much as he flashes, he can't keep turning it over. He just can't keep making those mistakes. He's thrown 5 picks in 5 games. I don't know how many times he's fumbled the ball. But he's the same guy. Look, he's a good player and a good talent. And when he walks off the bus at 6'6" and chiseled, you're like, damn. But he's still a guy that completes a low percentage. 54% of your passes at big-time college football is remarkably low. Remarkably low. You've got guys that are in the 70s in college football. 54%, and again, 5 picks in 5 games. That's just not going to get it done. And some of those have been in crucial times in these closer games. So I just think that I'll put my money on Nico before I put it on Talon Green at this point. Petrino's still doing what he does. He draws up great plays. The guy, for one of the most unlikable people in the history of coaching, he is an evil genius in a lot of ways. But they're still limited from that standpoint. I don't think they can have a mistake like that and still beat a team like Tennessee.
They have looking at their schedule here, Mike. They've got they're at 3. They've got to go to Mississippi State a little bit later on this year, and as it stands today, you would like their chances in that game. Obviously, a lot can change between now and then. They've got La Tech in November. Those are the 2 games that you would say, okay, well, I would expect Arkansas to win them. Doesn't mean they will, but I would expect Arkansas to win them. Outside of that, if they want to go to a bowl game, they're going to have to pull off an upset somewhere. And that's Tennessee, that's LSU. Both those games are at home. They got Ole Miss at home. They got Texas at home. How about that home slate, huh? And then at the end of the season, they got to go to Missouri. And if they don't, they don't win one of those games, they're not going to be in bowl season. If they get to bowl season, does that save Sam Pittman?
I don't know. You could go to a bowl game at 6-6. Is that really going to change everybody's opinion of Sam Pittman? I don't think so. If he goes 8-4, it does. But
so let me ask you this: what were they expected to do this year? Just by whoever. I'm not saying your expectations, but
they were expected to go like 4-8 and Sam Pittman get fired. So I know where you're headed. Like they're going to exceed those expectations. Yes. I love Sam Pittman. I don't root for anybody to be fired.
Yeah.
You mentioned that great fan base, and you're right. And I could also, as somebody who spent a lot of time in the Ozarks calling games, there are some similarities to Carolina. And just like Carolina, that fan base wants to get to the next level. And I don't think they believe Sam Pittman is the guy, even though they like him and they'd love to share a 6-pack with him. Love to go fishing with the man. Love to play a little pickleball with Sam Pittman, mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know if he's a pickleball guy, but I hear you.
I'm not saying he's good. I'm just saying 2-on-2, he probably stays in his little quadrant there, doesn't move much. He's not a net player. He's not going to flirt with the kitchen at all. He's just going to stay back and be like, the ball comes my way, I'm going to hit it, Mike. If not, hell. Can't win them all. No, everybody loves Sam, but I don't think that's good. Just a bowl game is good enough. I mean, if you're in the SEC, you're expected to make bowl games, right? I mean, this is why Carolina was so upset over last year. 5-7 is just not good enough. Everybody knows that, including Shane. They're not going 5-7 this year. They're going bowling. The question is, how good of a bowl game is it going to be? How big are the wins going to be? But yeah, I think Sam is still in peril, let's just say. And then, of course, you've got Arkansas fans. Just imagine if Steve Spurrier was the offensive coordinator for Shane Beamer. And after every loss, there'd be a large portion of the fan base that'd be like, can we make Steve our coach again? Things were pretty good with him. That's what's going on at Arkansas right now. I mean, Petrino pre-neck brace was a godlike figure in Fayetteville. And now he's calling plays, and he's calling a lot of good ones. Like he can't control Talon Green throwing it to the other team. But he's calling plays where, again, what I look for are receivers 10 yards open. Very often they are with Bobby Petrino dialing up plays. So there's a lot of people that would still love to see him get that. They love Sam Pittman. They'd love to give him like an emeritus job. Give Sam an office. Let him talk to Razorback clubs. Let him talk to the Little Rock Touchdown Club. But I'm not sure if they see him as a long-term for that program.
So calling the plays on Saturday, they fall. Jaquindon Jackson, just 10 carries in the game for 37 yards, right? Big time credit to the Aggies defense. So if you look at the conference standings, you see one team at 2-0, and that's Texas A&M. Not shocking to me, at least, knowing that the schedule that they had to begin the year. Quite frankly, honestly, It's really fairly manageable, to be honest with you. Bookended with Notre Dame and Texas. They got Missouri and LSU. They got the trip to Columbia there, where they fell the last time they were in town a couple of years ago. And then everything outside of that, you look at it and you go, you know what? Those are really all wins. They've already got 4. Mississippi State, New Mexico State, and Auburn seem safe. It looks like they're, headed to another 7-win season at least. Knowing A&M, that's exactly where they go, right, Mike? 7-5, 8-4 every year, pretty much.
Yeah.
But and then there's Missouri, and those two teams are going to play this weekend at noon in College Station. Missouri's best win of the year comes against Boston College. They squeaked that one out, and then you don't want to lose to Vandy, and they almost did. So I don't know who the better team is. We're going to find out. They're going to play this weekend. But no matter who the better team is, the question is actually how good are either one of them. When you mentioned the top of the league, and I 100% agree with that. No doubt about it. I thought Alabama would probably be the best. Them, Texas, Georgia, depending on the week, you could probably interchange them throughout the year, but they're all right there. And then you got all the blue-collar boys. Tennessee is probably knocking on that door too. Then you got all the blue-collar boys, right? Just how blue-collar is A&M, and just how blue-collar is Missouri this weekend. Don't know. But somebody this weekend is going to have to win the game, and I'm anxious to see how much we learn when those two teams play each other.
Same here. Look, I think October is going to be a separator. October is really going to shed some light. Like Ole Miss got exposed. They didn't play anybody for a number of weeks, and I really think that hurts. I've said it before. I thought Carolina's scare to Old Dominion actually was beneficial. I think that actually served a purpose in preparation of Kentucky. A game like that will get your attention for sure. It will make you fix some things that need some fixing. And they did. Ole Miss was just piling up points and video game numbers and beating people by 60, and you don't learn anything about your team. And there's going to be some games left on that schedule. I mentioned October 12th. There's a few weekends that with a number of games that are going to be separators of who are contenders and who are pretenders. There's no doubt about that. But I just think those three are in a different class. And I think Tennessee is like 3.1. And then there's a drop off. And look, maybe Missouri proves me wrong. You know how I feel about the Missouri-Carolina game. I think that's massive. And I think Carolina fans can take losing to certain teams. But the Missouri one, it's like, really? You're just like, it's hard to ask a fan base to embrace Missouri as a thorn in your side. Like, they'll get one every now and then, but you shouldn't have a losing streak to Missouri. And I totally understand that. I totally get that. And I don't think Missouri's as good as they were last year. It's still a good team, and they still are well coached. This is not a slam session on Mizzou. I'm just saying I don't think they're as good as they were a year ago, and I don't think Carolina should be in position where they're got a lengthy losing streak to the boys from Como.
I think that I'm with you. That game for South Carolina is so crucial. No matter what the circumstance is when it comes to the season, like how many wins they have versus how many losses. But my God, like, you just can't lose to those guys every year. Missouri, by the way, is going to have a nice year. Their schedule is very light when it comes to
extremely.
Yeah, I mean, it's
the lightest.
I think with A&M too, Mike. Not to dance around too much here, but if you took Brady Cook off of Missouri and plugged him in as the quarterback at A&M, I think we'd see them a little bit differently. Like that A&M defense, really like the program, but the quarterback situation is murky at best, and that's what I think that's a problem for those guys.
Well, and again, what would Missouri be? Luther Burden is such a game changer. I don't just judge that on stats. I think of moments where his team looked like they were going down. We've seen this already this year, and he makes a play.
Mm-hmm.
The Carolina game last year, when things were kind of tight, he makes that play. Like, everybody in the stadium knew eventually they were going to go deep to Burden. He's just better. I mean, there's a reason why he could be a top 10 pick in the draft. He's that. And that's the kind of kid that they weren't getting for years and years. They were losing out on St. Louis guys. You can believe it. St. Louis guys were saying no to Mizzou, and I want to play in the big time. I'm going elsewhere. Well, all of a sudden, they found a lot of money, and they are now getting those kids to stay nearby. We got two great State Farm agent sponsors here. I saw the commercial for one of them. The other one is Gary Patterson. He'll help you out. It's funny, him and Mr. Pope know each other quite well.
Very well.
Yeah,
Yep.
very cool. We've got the, we don't have a trinity. What would you call that? We have the dynamic duo of
Market
Pope and Patterson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Corner of the market here.
Corner of the market. And again, Gary's a guy who's been my guy for years. Can also be yours. You can ask him when you call about what happened in that Miami game at the end and the call. He is also a top ACC referee. I don't think he was on that game, but serves people and has for over 20 years. Lexington, Camden, Blythewood. Been in the insurance business a long time. He posted something on social media the other day. There's a lot of people, unfortunately, going through all this, Jamie, and there's a lot of fraud with insurance companies, and a lot of insurance companies that when you actually need them, they are not there for you. Sadly, that is the case. You will never hear that really about State Farm guys in general. But again, I've told you about my bad experience not long ago with my car. Gary Patterson, don't have to worry about that. Terrific in making sure that you are covered. And also the rates are very good. In fact, you can call him. Beautiful thing about insurance, they can't lock you down. You might be stuck in that god-awful cell phone plan, that god-awful cable TV plan. But if you find a better deal and a better insurance company, you can switch it tomorrow. The law says you can. So go ahead and check out GaryPatterson.net, 803-438-5000. A couple people asked about the Fab Five, and I misspoke. We don't have a winner yet. Phil's been dealing with a lot of crap, in case you haven't noticed. I was thinking of last week's winner. But we will announce that as soon as they are tabulated. If it's like every other week, somebody went 5-0. You folks have been terrific so far on the Salsaritas Fab Five. We got a couple people that are, I don't know if these guys live in Atlanta or not. Nathan says, Mike, if I win the Fab Five, you have to take me to Arnett's. Arnett's is a very good steakhouse here in Atlanta. And Nathan, Salsaritas a little more reasonable than Arnett's, let's just say. I can get like 3 Fiesta packs for the price of a steak and a couple of beers at Arnett's, but I'm with you. I am a big Arnett's fan. Good call, Nathan. Steven says, Mike, did hell freeze over with the Falcons winning a home game? Good Lord. They didn't score an offensive touchdown and had a 57-yard field goal to win it. Yeah, hell did freeze over. The Falcons, who have been brutal to watch, did actually win a home game. So a couple of random messages in chat row.
It is 12. That's what chat row is all about. It is 12:48. We are presented by our friends at Resto Pros. Obviously, those going through storm cleanup. If your home is flooded out, that's who you want to call. Resto Pros, MidlandsSC.com. Final segment, hour 2, coming up next.
Hey, Gamecock fans, Mike Morgan here. During my time in Columbia, one of my favorite places to eat was Salsaritas. When I go back now for work or any other reason, it's still Salsaritas. Yeah, I'm like you. I love tacos. I love Tex-Mex. Where are you going to go to get them? Well, you've got 2 convenient Salsaritas locations, one in Lexington in the Target Center and one in West Columbia as well. Now, if you like tailgating, and who doesn't, whether it's for a football game or anything else, they've got the catering hotline. Get yourself some Fiesta packs to take tailgating. Get yourself the 3 Amigos bundles for tailgating. They make catering easy with a fresh, hot setup. And again, you just call the phone number 803-543-6297 to set it up. You can also look them up online, or you can even download the app. Salsaritas is just a cut above the rest. That's why they're serving Williams-Brice Stadium and the South Stands, also serving in the Colonial Life Arena. Again, that catering hotline number, make it easy for you and the folks out there. You don't need to settle for sandwiches every time. 803-543-6297. 803-543-6297.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com. Man, that's good.
Morning, Carl. Usual?
Yeah.
Your oldest was in here the other day. Said the two of you took a trip down to my neck of the woods. How'd that go?
You might as well give me one of those Carolina cards while you're at it.
I knew I liked that one.
Yeah.
There you go, my friend.
Thanks.
Hey, Carl. Congratulations.
See you tomorrow, Freddie.
You bet.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Fans, Club Chief has arrived. Become a Big Chief Club member or a Big Chief Club Golden Gear member for exclusive access to our Nana's Porch chat box on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Plus, you'll get access to our VIP tailgates, prize drawings, merch, and much more. A portion of your monthly membership goes to the Garnet Trust, supporting NIL at the University of South Carolina. Pull up your Chief Sports app and join on the home page. Thank you so much for being a member of Club Chief, and we look forward to meeting many of you very soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Segment, hour 2. Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Welcome back. Thanks to our friends at Palm Casual for once again continuing to do what they do, making my back porch so sweet. I fell asleep out there on Friday night and Saturday night, and I say that very humbly because so many people didn't even have a place to sleep on Saturday night, and I'm aware of that. And we are, again, thinking of all of you and praying for all of you and very, 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 very sorry. As some of you rebuild and those that don't need to rebuild, though, if you're looking to make that outdoor area the way you want it, Palm Casual, I promise you. Their sale this past weekend, there were 250 people in line before 7 a.m.
You're kidding me.
I kid you not. I mean, just bonkers. It's all just, I mean, it's the best stuff in the world. And
word gets out.
It does. It does. Very thankful. And a lot of people mentioned our programming, and that's where they've heard about it. So we appreciate that. But most importantly, congratulations. You're the new owner of a sweet piece of furniture that's never going to rust or break or nothing.
No, it's
awesome.
Fantastic. Compliments from the neighbors. They're a little jelly. We need to see if we can get them some Palm Casual furniture. It is, like you said, you can order stuff on Amazon. It won't last long. It won't feel comfortable. It won't look good. You can spend a little extra and get the best stuff on the planet. It just happens to be a South Carolina business, but there are also locations throughout Florida and some other spots as well do an outstanding job. So I go back the great inventions of our time: wheel, fire, microchip, the George Foreman grill, and Palm Casual. Right up there, top 5. And whatever Elon Musk comes up with next, I'm sure that'll be up there. Hey, can I give a quick shout out to a listener?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just nothing. I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up later.
All right. This is like the random upon random. So my brother-in-law lives in Frankfort, Kentucky, home of Buffalo Trace, among other things.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Beautiful place.
He runs like a lot of the little league stuff up there, does some umpiring and whatnot. There is a big time listener to the show who's a big fan, a guy named Bobby Hall.
Oh,
I don't know Bobby, but he just said he loves the show, listens every day, and happens to be in Frankfort, Kentucky. So I mention all the time how many Gamecock fans are here in Columbia. When I was at the Braves game last week, there was a lady wearing a Whit Merrifield Braves jersey, which I didn't even know that was those are out yet. When I'm Gamecock fans there, but we got some in Kentucky too. So how about that? Who knew? Bobby, here's to you.
Love that.
Yeah.
Big fan. Thanks, Bobby. We got a lot of fans in a lot of places outside of just this beautiful state of South Carolina. So we're very thankful.
Well,
for all
and
that.
you and I know with backgrounds in talk radio, among other things, there was a time where you were totally beholden to whatever your local radio stations provided.
Mm-hmm.
That those were your only options. And if you didn't like it and it wasn't that good, it's either that or listening to bad music. So you listened. Or if it was a good option with a crappy signal, you listened through the static. What did Jamie just say? And you just did it for 3 hours because it was your only option. The great thing about technology that is so exciting and so exciting about what we do here is that anybody can listen anywhere, anytime, crystal clear. You can see our smiling faces. You can see the great video production that you and Phil and JC put together. You can see our sponsors on screen and all our local sponsors that do so much to help people in South Carolina and beyond. It's such a big deal. There's a generation of people that don't know how good they have it because, again, for a long, long time, you were stuck with whatever crappy radio shows that you had because you had nowhere else to go. You didn't have any options. Now you do.
Well, and we are very happy to be many of your number one option. I can tell you that. If I could, I will say this.
Hope knows what I'm talking about. Her dad used to cover it. Her father was the media writer for the state newspaper and did a great job, Doug Nye. But Hope knows. Yeah, for years and years, it was 560 and that was it. 1,400, a 1,000 watt AM station. People would listen to.
When I was young, pretty sure that was Kevin Cohen, right? Kevin
Cohen. You had, and I just met up with a good friend of mine, Steve Stewart.
There you go.
Who's now with the Royals. Steve and I when I was doing Braves, he was doing Royals. We were next to each other in the booths, like two guys that did it in Columbia are now doing it on other stages, I guess you could say. You had a number of really talented people that went through that market, a number of them. And I say this all the time. One of my favorite times on this earth was the decade or so I put in Columbia. It's always going to be, always going to hit close for me to home because it was just such a special time in my life and in my career and everything else. Yeah, Kornblut's still doing it over there. The night show, he's no longer on 560. 560 is no longer sports.
No.
They're just news talk. So you have one sports station in Columbia, and that's it.
Hope that we're out of time here, but Hope you're exactly right. I look, Leonard's Losers was my thing back in the day. I would do anything to bring that back. Maybe one day we will figure out how to bring that back. It was the best segment on Saturday mornings that you could possibly imagine during college football season.
I think his son might have tried to carry that torch.
It didn't
happen.
Nah, it wasn't.
Nepotism, not always a good thing.
Leonard,
have you seen Jack Collinsworth?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Did I say that?
Easy. No, I'm just kidding. All right, we got to go. Hour 3 is coming up. So's Whittle at 1:20. Hang tight. ITG will be right back.
To win in sports, you have to adapt your strategy as the game changes. The same is true of investments. I'm Eric Ponder, an Edward Jones financial advisor, and I can be your financial coach. Call 864-862-2161. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
Touchdown Brewer. Set up a screen, and it goes to Brewer. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Brewer, his second of the day. Pitches it to Brewer, turns the corner. Touchdown, number 3 of the afternoon.
Hey folks, it's Mike Morgan for Ryan Brewer Fence. That's right, you know the former Gamecock legend as a terrific college football player. Well, I know him as that too. I also know him as the guy that runs a great business, one of the best businesses in South Carolina. How do I know that? Well, for one, I'm actually a client of Ryan's. I had my home in Columbia done years ago, and his crew did an outstanding job, just as he does for everybody else. Whether you're in the market for a fence, railings, columns, or anything in between, their craftsmanship, their experience, and service second to none. Ryan Brewer Fence has over 15 years of experience with consultation and installation of residential and commercial fencing and railings. Rest assured your job will be done with an unparalleled level of expertise, and it's done on time, and they do it right the first time. Again, you're not going to do any better than Ryan Brewer. Ryan Brewer Fence. The website is ryanbrewer.net. Set up an appointment today. Tell them Mike sent you.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Disaster comes uninformed. During and after natural disasters or accidents, there can be a heavy loss to property. It can become extremely difficult to bounce back to what you knew before. Having your home or office destroyed or damaged by water, fire, smoke, or mold affects your personal and business lifestyle. Resto Pros of the Midlands is here to help. Open 24/7. Call them when you need them. 803-493-0170. Resto Pros of the Midlands. RestoProsMidlandsSC.com.
Bells ringing down cobblestone Charleston streets. She's the morning sun rising on the horseshoe at USC. She's moonlight on black water, a John Deere down a Greer farm road, moving nice and slow. No, there ain't nothing like her. She's a southern one of a kind. Even in my dreams I still find her. She's like an old friend awaiting when I close my eyes. And how lucky I am to call her mine. No, you'll never find another like my Carolina. My Carolina. Talking about my Carolina. Talking about my Carolina. My Carolina. South Carolina.
The great Patrick Davis. Tomorrow night, you will begin to see the Southern Songwriter Series released on SC or PBS stations all across the country, SCE TV here inside of the great state of South Carolina. It is one of the neat things that happens in music. Patrick is so innovative in how he does all of this. He joined us a couple weeks ago. He was scheduled to be with us yesterday, but we obviously had to kick the can down the road with some technical issues because of the storm. He will once again join us, though, this Friday. Looking forward to that. The great Patrick Davis, who will now welcome our third hour of ITG. Mike and myself, John Whittle is ahead here in just a little bit. Behind the scenes, you don't see Phil today. Phil is in a van down by the river. No, I'm not kidding. No, I'm just kidding. He almost had to be in a van down by the river yesterday to get service, and that was part of the problem. But he is working really hard to keep us up and moving. We can't thank him enough. So, again, all of you give Phil hugs and hand pounds and tell him how great he is, because he deserves that. And hopefully this continues to move in the right direction. Big game this weekend between South Carolina and Ole Miss. I can't wait Saturday morning to wake up and watch game day from Berkeley, California. Oh, sweet mother. The most awkward, I think, game I've ever seen them pick. They are entertaining, so luckily the show, I think, will be fine. I'm not so sure that 6 a.m. on the left coast is going to be a rocking place, but we'll see. Mike, Miami, hey, look, you could have sold me on this, and maybe you still can. There's time. You could have sold me on this had, Cal not gotten beat by Florida State. Can't sell me on it now. I don't love this.
Miami is a terrible replay call away from this not happening either.
Yeah. So you and I haven't talked.
No.
Your thoughts
You're
on
too busy
that?
texting Garcia.
No, I haven't really talked to anybody. I've been.
If I get a response from you at a text message within 3.5 hours, I consider it a win.
Well, that's a win. Yeah, I don't even respond to my wife in 3.5 hours, and she's one.
I believe it. No, I know your type. I know your type.
Well, this has been a brutal week with things, but
sure.
The call. I don't look, every side, whatever the argument is. I'm just not so sure how you could overturn whatever the call was made on the field.
Exactly.
That was my issue.
That's the right answer. That is if they called it incomplete on the field and they did not overturn it, because clearly there was not indisputable video evidence, then you would have had no problem. They called it a touchdown on the field. The official, presumably, and I guess it would have been the back judge. I didn't pick up on, but presumably he would have a better angle than any of the cameras that ESPN was able to provide there, because even with all the technology, the pylon cam, the sideline cam, what we call a cart cam, that's that thing that drives left and right the whole game. It gives you an incredible angle at the line of scrimmage. The goalpost cam, the sky cam, the blimp cam, none of those cams can see through human bodies when there's a mass of humanity, 7 or so players going up for a jump ball. All the cameras in the world can't get in that because we're not translucent individuals. It's been a while since I've seen you, Jamie, but I don't think you've changed. You still have like organs, skin, and blood. The camera can't, it's not an x-ray machine. So that official would have the best view of it. The one that called it a touchdown. Whatever he saw in that instant moment, that's what matters. When you have no indisputable evidence to overturn something, the call on the field, I'm texting Andre Ware, who's calling the game at the time, and we're like, yeah, there's no way they can overturn this. There's not indisputable video evidence. They showed 27 angles. You don't have it. And sure enough, after 5 minutes of review, they come back with the ruling on the field is that it was incomplete. Game over. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and the explanation that came well after the game was over was really bizarre to me as to why the explanation wasn't given in the moment.
That's CYA. You cover your ass.
Well, that's my look, man. Like, this is going on all over college football. Like, Carolina's got robbed of a couple of calls and non-calls a couple of weeks ago. In our little world, that was the only thing that happened in officiating. But when you open up the book,
here's the difference. Those are subjective calls. The ones that everybody were extremely mad about in the Carolina game. This is not a subjective thing. There's no indisputable video evidence, period.
Right.
That's not subjective. There's no indisputable video evidence, period. End of discussion.
Yeah, it's over. And but seemingly every week there's something that is like this directly affected the football game. Like, if I'm Virginia Tech, I'm losing my lunch over this deal. And you see what I'm saying? Like, we have too much money and technology, but really it just comes down to, like, money can do anything mostly.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Jamie, and you said this after the Carolina game, and I've heard this a lot, and you're not wrong. Like, let's have full-time officials. Let's have these guys go out there. Well, I mean, the problem with that is there's not football 52 weeks a year, and like, they're not, it's not going to happen. NFL guys don't referee games 12 months out of the year, yet they're clearly better than college officials on the whole. You watch an NFL game, I'm not saying they don't miss calls, but they're so much better than the college guys.
Yeah. Calls are quick too, by the way. Bam, bam.
Bam, bam.
Yeah.
Right. They don't waste any time. Almost like they got a plane to catch. Like, it's just an efficient operation. But this is one of those where it does all the money in the world, all the this in the world, full-time officials, part-time officials. What a play like that comes down to, just like a play like in basketball, where it's clearly a foul on the shooter, but because it's the last second, you swallow the whistle. That's what that comes down to. Do you want to be the person that has the gumption to overturn it? And everybody's going to know your name, and all the U fans are going to, probably give you death threats or whatever.
They are not going to get rid of your termites.
That's right. That's right. You got to kill your own roaches for a few months because the bug man who's never been to Coral Gables but has 17 Miami tattoos and 13 gold chains. He's so distraught at that point. He's like, I'm putting away the pesticide, and I am, damn it, I'm writing a letter. I'm going to have somebody craft one. But at that point, it just doesn't matter. All that other stuff doesn't matter if you don't have the intestinal fortitude to just say, hey, we can't overturn this. We don't have indisputable video evidence.
Why can't a call like that be overturned and change the game after the point? Because that was the final play of the game. You either win or you lose.
Right.
Like, why can't they come back and go, we got it wrong on the field, we're overturning the outcome of the game, Virginia Tech wins?
Well, remember now, the call on the field was a touchdown, so they had it right.
No,
I don't want to say that. By his viewpoint, he believes he had it right.
Right.
That's what you want an official to do. Like, you see it, you clear out everything else in your mind. I don't care if the game's in Miami or not. I don't care if Miami's a potential playoff team or not. I don't care if I'm going to have stuff thrown at me on the way to the tunnel or not. I that's the call I made. Then it's up to the people in the replay booth or command control to go ahead, and if there's no indisputable video evidence to validate the call, you have to do that. And we're taught the terminology again. There's two. It's either the play stands, which would have been the right thing to say, or it's confirmed. Confirmed means we watched it and we're 1,000% certain that it was the right call. Well, you couldn't do that because there wasn't enough video evidence. So the right thing to have done would have been not say it's confirmed, but you say the play stands, which implies We're not 100% sure that it's the right call, but we sure as hell don't have anything here that says it wasn't. There's not enough video evidence. Has to be 100% video evidence that it was not a catch. You saw it, Jamie. Did you see 100% evidence that ball was not a catch?
No, I didn't. There wasn't 100% evidence of anything, so it just reverts to the call in the field.
So you can't overturn it. That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. So I don't know I didn't read word for word the explanation. I don't know what you could have said to make Virginia Tech fans, or for that matter, just college football. This was the talk of Twitter during that time. Everybody was, it's a Friday night game, right? That was Friday night. The great thing about Friday night, I've talked about this and I've done a few, is that everybody's watching. You could have a crappy game and it's going to draw a good number. It's not going to draw the 14 million people that watch Georgia, Alabama at its peak, but it's going to draw 7 figures because it's Friday night. It's the only game on. They're all talking about it. And people that had no vested interest in that game are like, damn, how do you overturn that? That's terrible. But they did it.
Yeah, I'm the officiate, like, it's college football, college athletics in general, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of problems with officiating in basketball. There's umpiring in baseball it's okay, but it's not, I wouldn't say great. It's good. It's good. It's good. There's nothing to it. And we have so much money invested, and like we're turning to this, everything is going to betting, legalized gambling, yada, 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 yada. And there continue to be games that are impacted by officials. Like, officials aren't supposed to be deciding games. They're supposed to be calling the game, officiating the game. And this is, you just wonder what the tipping point is going to be. I don't know. And I don't even know what the solution is. I mean, I do think they should be full-time. I understand what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with that. I think it's a sad excuse because of how much money's involved. You can pay these guys full-time and give them other things to do throughout the year, from training to other leagues, et cetera, et cetera. They could be calling spring games. They could be working practices.
They do. They call spring games. They call practices.
Yeah,
I know an official that was at the Gamecock practice after the U game who talked to Shane and went over chapter and verse every call. And as I mentioned on this show, the one call that the SEC admitted that they missed was not the ones that you're thinking. Definitely not the horse collar. And it wasn't the personal foul on the interception. It was the offensive PI.
Yeah.
That was that. And I said at the time, like, that's the one that's not getting the attention it should. That's the one that clearly is missed. And that's the only one that they talked about. They also, truth be told, had problems with the block kick. In fact, that's a whole other story. But anyway, my point is that these guys are the very best that are available. Like, they're not just taking people off the scrap heap. These guys have been training. They've been doing it for 20 years, 30 years in some cases. But they're still going to miss calls. They just are. Let's just say you doubled their salary. First off, they do pretty well. These guys are not doing it for minimum wage now. They're doing it. They're doing pretty well. But most of the people, and I know some of these guys, I mean, I often thought if I didn't get into broadcasting, it's something I wanted to do. I wanted to coach or I wanted to officiate. And you don't get into that for the money. Like, you don't get into that because you want to be rich. You get into that because you truly love the game and you have a passion for doing something like that. And here's what separates the general public from this. You got to be able to put up with a lot of bull, you know what.
Yep.
You can't even imagine. So you have to have beyond thick skin. You just have to be wired a little bit differently. You almost have to go out there every game and, like, I don't give 2 Fs about what people think about me after this game because I'm going to do my damn job and I'm not here to make friends. That's the if you're going to survive, that's the mentality you have to have. So most of those guys, they're trained, they make good money, they want to get it right. They're embarrassed as hell if they don't. Guys lose assignments over that. They lose money over that. If they screw it up, believe me, it happens. But I don't know if it gets any better. You've got replay. We've never had more replay than we have now.
No, I think replay needs to stay in the ballpark though, like sending it to Birmingham and all over the place.
You
Like,
don't like that?
no, yeah, I've always thought that. Well, they're the one that made the call. Let them go look at it. I mean, why do we need somebody? They could look at the same thing, right, and make the call.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things when I'm in the booth, typically, or the replay official will come to our booth and just introduce themselves and like, hey, you got any questions? You want to talk about any rules? And I'll usually say like, hey, how's this new rule going? What's the horse collar rule?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the tackle box rule has changed as it pertains to the horse collar. Are you getting guys getting a lot of calls on it? Well, not really. It hasn't really come up in a whole lot of games. Okay. Well, what's been the biggest thing, the biggest sticking point? Well, the biggest thing is still PI. You got defensive backs that are holding and grabbing on it. PI is the new holding.
Right.
Like you've heard this cliche for 50 years. You can call holding on every play. Well, you could call pass interference on almost every play.
Every play. On one or the other or both.
Right. It's unbelievable. We got to a point where we just allowed so much jockeying for position that now it's at a point where it's on like every play. Do you call it? Do you not call it? Do you let it go? Do you not let it go? And eventually, like that's the thing I think they're most puzzled by. How do we call a 3.5-hour game? And you don't want to call 27 pass interference penalties because that'll tick the fans off. It's not about you. You're not the star of the game. The players are. Stop. Enough with the flags. Okay. But then when it affects your team and you see a guy completely mauled on a play or that his jersey's grabbed before he gets out of his break to run a post route or a slant or whatever, that's a foul. And it affects the play.
Yeah.
And it happens a ton.
Yep.
You don't see it on TV as much because unless you're watching the all 22, you only see a zoom. You're watching the ball snapped, and you're watching the quarterback. There's Sellers back there, and then he throws it, and the director says, "Okay, camera 3, switch it. Camera 3, get ready to take 3." Now you see the ball right before it hits the receiver's hands. Well, what you don't see is the receiver being held for 10 yards.
Yeah.
That doesn't show up on your TV screen. And if you're at Williams-Brice Stadium and you're row 47, you might not see it either. But it happens all the time, and I don't think they really know what to do about it.
I don't know, Mike. And I know we got to get to John here, but I have thought for a long time too that they probably need to entertain being able to challenge penalties as well. You can throw a challenge flag out there as a coach. You get one. If you win it, you keep it. If you lose it, I'm going to challenge that there was pass interference on this.
I'm down with that.
I don't know why I'm going to challenge that number 5 held number 9 on that. Mm-hmm. Why not? I don't know why we can't do those things, but and maybe we can. Maybe somebody's talked about it. I don't know. I'm not trying to figure that out.
I know for a fact it's come up. Yeah.
But yeah, it should be. It should.
We already did this thing to shave some time off the game. Not about player safety. That's a bunch of BS. The whole thing with the getting rid of stopping the clock on first down, that's just to make the game shorter, right?
Yeah, that's to fit 12, 3:30, and 7:30. And
bingo.
That's what
100%. Anybody that tells you differently is lying.
That's bull. Yeah.
So do you think after doing that, they're going to want to add, okay, we can now challenge holding and pass interference on those plays, which on any given play, you could throw that flag and be like, yeah, I think the right guard held.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think so. And just kind of roll the dice. Your proposition is the best. Like you'd have to limit that.
Yeah, you get one.
It's got to be egregious.
Yeah, you get
it's
one.
It's got to be egregious.
You win it, you keep it. You lose it, you lose it. I mean, that's all right. We gotta go.
Whittle.
John's being patient, and John's
throwing the flag on us for delay a game.
Yeah. We'll be right back.
We got started in 1979. Because we're a manufacturer, we're able to control our costs. That's why we like to manufacture as much of the product as we can, because in our factory stores we can offer a competitive edge over other people around the country. When people come into one of our Palm Casuals, it's like they're buying their car at Detroit. They're going right to the factory and buying their car.
30-day money-back guarantee. That's a big deal with us. I mean, we give 30 days to do anything. I mean, return it, change it, get a different color, get your money back.
When you pull into a store and it says Palm Casual, you know you're at a factory store.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
What Right to Bear is we're an association of members across the entire country, and what we offer is we offer legal defense in the event of a self-defense case.
Nice.
So it's not insurance. So we offer an attorney in the event that one of our members might have some type of an accident. ProtectWithBear.com. We've got all of our social media accounts on the bottom of our website. We've got blogs, articles, detailed description of all of the coverages in depth, and we'd love to have you come check us out and ultimately get the protection you need.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lurie Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
This is Lenore Sullivan from Gamecock Football, and you listen to the show with JC, JB, and Phil.
It is 1:28, and John Whittle joins us now, usually on Mondays, but it's Wednesday. John, I see all the trees are back there. They're standing. You're standing. How'd you make out in the storm?
Not too bad. Got my power on late Monday night, so just without that for a few days. But other than that, things okay around here. Neighbor a couple of doors down that way, can't really say the same for. They had a tree fall through their garage. Thankfully, it was through the garage and not through the house. But lots of trees down around here. This neighborhood has a bunch of big oaks, and there's been some damage. But I came out of it pretty unscathed.
As we've mentioned multiple times today, JC and I mentioned it yesterday in a pre-recorded version of this program. We just continue to just pray for everybody out there, and we got you back, and our chat box is open. If people need to share things, if you're available to help and you're in an area where you know people that need help, share it. We'll share it for you. That's what we're here for. Y'all build our programs. We'll do anything we can to help all of you. And obviously, John, I know that a lot of that's going on the bigspur.com right now. People kind of sharing where they are and how they can help and things of that nature, especially the mountains and the upstate and all that stuff. What a great community we've got here. So we got you back. And we'll keep praying for you. We've tried to give you a little bit of normalcy today, being back on the air with Inside the Gamecocks, the show. And speaking of normal, it's a normal week again during football season. Shane Beamer met with the media yesterday, and then today the coordinators met with the media, John, ahead of this weekend's matchup against the Ole Miss Rebels. What'd you learn from Clayton White, and what'd you learn from Dowell Loggins?
Well, Dowell said, that their goal is to score more points than the other team does. So got that from him today. Yeah,
very Steve Spurrier-esque. I love it.
Yeah, he was asked what he liked about the offense so far this year, and he said, we've scored more points than the other team 3 times, and I like that, but didn't in one game, and didn't like that so much. But yeah, obviously a lot of the talk to both of those guys was kind of surrounding the Ole Miss and Kentucky game, and what how that game kind of impacts, this Saturday's game, or what you can learn and that kind of thing. So, I asked Clayton, how much time do you spend thinking about, okay, well, Ole Miss didn't live up to what they do offensively. They were slowed down. Like, how much time do you spend thinking about what adjustments they're going to make to what went wrong with them, the previous game against Kentucky? And Clayton said, a lot. You have to think about that, because they're probably going to do some things differently, and we've got to anticipate, what are they going to do in response to being slowed down a little bit. But Clayton made a good point, and this is very true for those who didn't watch that game. Is he said, Kentucky made a very concerted effort to stay on the field offensively. So if you keep Ole Miss's offense off the field, then you can't score if you're not on the field. So they stayed out there. They converted a lot of third downs. They ran the clock and complimentary football. And South Carolina's coaches talk about that often.
Yeah, that was the blueprint for how you do it against teams that like to pitch it around like Ole Miss. Where are you leaning as far as the availability goes of Lenore Sellers and Rocket Sanders? What have you heard?
I don't think either one of them are going to be 100% on Saturday. I don't think I'm breaking any news there. I don't think either guy is going to be fully healthy, but I kind of think right now that both are going to have the ability to be out there. And I don't know what that's going to look like from a workload standpoint for Rocket. And obviously if Lenoris is out there and available, he's going to play. Now, is he able to run as much? Like, how does the game plan change? But I think both are going to end up being available. We get our first injury report tonight, obviously, which is going to give us some type of indication on what they're thinking. And, I don't think, and Mike, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. The coaches in this league pretty well. I don't think that coaches are really going to misrepresent on these availability reports, not injury reports. I don't think they're going to misrepresent on those things, what they actually feel in that moment.
No, I agree with you, John. I think the SEC did this for a reason, and it wasn't to just like make it like a joke. So if Greg Sankey in the SEC office feels like you're just making a mockery of it and flat out lying about the status of a player, I don't think that would go over very well.
You're gonna get fined.
Well, yeah. Of course, a lot of these programs be like, well, we can pay the fine. That's not a big deal. But I think more so than that, you'll be let's just say scolded a little bit if that's the case. I guess my question would be, John, knowing that Lenoris is still not 100%, I think we can all safely say that, right?
I think so.
So. Yeah. I mean, the obvious answer is in the running game, but how do you think he will be limited? Is it moving laterally? Is it I'm trying to which ankle is it? Help me out here. It's
his right ankle.
Right. So the back, so the back. I mean, just on throwing the ball, have you heard anything on things that they're most concerned about in terms of how this would affect his ability to be the type of athlete that we've seen so far?
Yeah, I haven't heard much along those lines, to be candid with you. I think it's just been more about trying to get him as healthy as possible. And I don't think he's done a whole lot of work out there so far up to this point. I've heard kind of behind the scenes that, this was kind of the hope that they were able to get him back this week, but maybe not necessarily the expectation. So, how much he's actually able to do and where the discomfort is, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think that he's able to do everything particularly fluidly right now.
Yeah, I think the question is, do you have a better chance to beat Ole Miss with a 100% Robbie Ashford or a 70% Lenore Sellers? That's not a question I can answer.
I know my answer.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're going to say, but I mean, as far as like maintaining ball control and being a dual threat quarterback and those type things, like if you feel like you can devise a game plan to a kid who's 100% as a dual threat guy, like not like a Davis Bevel, I'm talking about, Robbie, and this is not Akron, I get that, but if you've got a guy who can't move, he can't be dual threat, and that's a problem in a game like this, especially since that's what your offense is designed around, right?
I would only throw in on that, John, just one man's opinion. I don't think you beat Ole Miss if you can't throw the ball. So, playing both guys, I could see as a possibility, but I'll take my chances with a 70% Lenoris throwing over Robbie Ashford. That's just I get it. I get it. He looked like friggin', Joe Montana against Akron, but this is a little different deal.
Yeah, and I would have a tendency to agree with that. That you've got to be able to throw the ball. Now, I'm not as cool on Robbie Ashford's ability to throw the ball as some out there. I think he's a little bit more capable than he's being given credit for. Even before the Akron game, I thought he threw some relatively. I thought he threw a couple of really good passes against LSU. I thought he threw some poor ones as well. But I don't know. I think you have to go into that, to your point, with a playbook that says we're going to have to throw the ball some to be able to win this game, regardless of who that quarterback is. And I think Robbie can do okay. I think Robbie can do okay with that. I think he needs his receivers to help him make plays. Those guys got to be on point. You can't have the drops and so forth. You can't have the mistakes. They're going to have to be really good to help him. But I think he's good enough to be able to make enough throws.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. And I'm with you, John. I do think he throws the ball a little bit better than he's getting credit for. The bugaboo with Robbie Ashford is the same bugaboo that Lenoris has been working his way out of. He holds on to the ball for too long.
Yes.
He's got to get the ball out, and you know what I mean? Like, and some of that has to do probably with some play call. You got to be able to get the ball out. Let's call some plays where we can get it out. Some of that is the fact that he's just not doing it. And Lenoris, did Dow Loggins speak on that today as it pertains to the sack numbers? Because I can tell you right now, that's at least 5 or 6 of the sacks they've had this year because they're just hanging on to the football.
Yeah, he didn't go in depth on that, but one point he did make on the sack numbers, which I thought was interesting and obviously true, is that 10 of the 16 sacks have come on third down. And they've been in a lot of third and longs this year. When you go back and break it down and look at the numbers, whether it's Old Dominion or LSU, regardless of who has been, they've been in long third downs for a lot of this season so far. And that when you're facing 3rd and 7, 3rd and 12, whatever it is, I mean, it's just longer developing plays in general that you're having to run, but it's also plays where the defense knows that you're going to be passing. You're not in 3rd and 3 and can give the ball to Rocket and try to let him find 3 or 4. You've been in a lot of passing situations on third down. So, they have to keep doing a better job on 1st and 2nd down. I also think they need to do a better job, in my opinion, especially with Robbie out there, or if Robbie is out there. They've got to do a little bit more of throwing the ball on 1st and 2nd down as well to keep a defense off balance, because it's been a lot of run pass at times this year.
The great John Whittle joining us, as he does every single week. John, flipping the field here, again, this, and I can't wait for John Strickland to join us on Friday. He says this all the time. I'm like, hey, man, that's my line. I came up with this back in May. That this defense was going to have to carry them at least through the first quarter of the season. And they did that. And now you enter this stretch here. This stretch is so crucial to not put up a goose egg, at least get one over the next 3 games. And they're going to have to continue to do this, especially with some of the injury issues offensively. Although this offense has continued to kind of morph itself into having some sort of a identity from week 1 to week 4, they've come a long way, and they deserve a lot of credit on that. And so does Dow Loggins. Mike mentioned Dow earlier and how much credit he deserves Phil, I'm sorry, not Phil. Well, Phil too, but Perry Orth, who will be with us tomorrow, said as much last week. But the defense still has to be themselves, John. They still have to make big plays, right? They still have to be able to put pressure on the quarterback. Lane Kiffin spoke earlier this week about Kentucky and South Carolina both being excellent defenses, but different in style. Kentucky, big, bulky, keep the ball in front of you. South Carolina, a little bit more finesse, a little more fidgety and those type things, trying to get the quarterback there. Did you learn anything about or from Clayton today and how they plan to attack this high-flying Rebels offense when they're on the field? Because we know they like to score as quickly as they can.
No, I mean, not a lot. I mean, they've got to prepare for tempo. I mean, that's one thing that Clayton talked about today. He didn't necessarily talk about, exactly what their game plan is going to be, obviously, but that is one thing that jumped out to me about, the way, I mean, Kentucky plays this way in general, but Kentucky played very physically with Ole Miss. I mean, those DBs, and I know they were down their top guy, their top corner, last weekend. I mean, those DBs played very physically against those wide receivers. And, I don't know that that's South Carolina's strength, at least at the cornerback position. O'Donnell Fortune is really good in coverage. Now, is he great at playing physically? I think he's gotten better. Judge Collier, I don't know that that's his calling card. Vicari Swain, to me, is probably South Carolina's most physical corner. I think that may be helpful, this weekend. But, South Carolina, I think, is got to be a little bit more physical outside. I mean, I think the front seven, you guys just got to keep doing what you're doing out there, man. Like you're going to give everybody problems. You gave LSU problems. They got one of the best offensive lines in the country, but you can give Ole Miss problems just doing what you do.
John, on kind of in line with that thought process or that part of the of the defense, I'll maintain Juice Wells is a great storyline. Trey Harris is their best player. He's their best weapon on offense, and that's the guy that would concern me the most. What do you think they do? And I know I'm asking a question you probably can't answer because coaches aren't going to reveal this stuff. But what do you think they do to help neutralize him? I mean, even in the loss against Kentucky, Kentucky had no answers for him. They had plenty of answers for Juice Wells. They had none for him. Nobody has been able to even slow this guy down. Who are some of the guys that you're looking for to help contain him?
Well, O'Donnell Fortune's been, to me, really good in coverage. And I don't know. I mean, I think he's your best cover guy by far. I don't know if you track him across the field with O'Donnell or not. Like, I don't know if O'Donnell is that guy. Like, I don't think he's Stephon Gilmore, running around out there chasing the other team's best receiver. But, it's an interesting point that you bring up. Like, those are the types of guys that you have to really prepare hard for. But if you do too much with your coverage, I mean, they've got a lot of other weapons. I mean, beyond just Antoine Wells. I don't call him Juice. I didn't call him Juice when he was here. I think that's silly. But certainly not going to call him Juice now. But Antoine, I mean, there's more than just him as well. So they've got a slew of skill players that can hurt you. I don't want to say you got to let him get his because, he can change a game, but, he is going to get his. He is going to get some. I think you just got to play him almost normally because they've got so many other guys who can go out there and make plays. It's not a Xavier Legette situation from last year, I guess, is maybe a better way of putting it.
Right.
South Carolina didn't have enough elsewhere. You could game plan to try to slow down Xavier. I don't think you can do that quite as much in this instance.
Yeah. By the way, congratulations to Xavier. First touchdown over the weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Had a good game for a woeful team, but he had a good game.
What a great
$1 bill.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful dude. The whole country's finding out how great of a human being Xavier Legette is. The Juice thing is, so there's two former Gamecocks that'll be here this weekend. Of course, Rashad Amos, welcome back, but left on a little bit of a different note than Antoine. Sorry to offend you, John. I didn't mean to call him Juice in your presence.
I mean, I don't take offense to it. I'm just saying me.
No, I
You're going
get it.
to
I
put
get
that up in the Ole Miss locker room. Beat reporter John Whittle says your nickname is silly.
Yeah. You just gave them that's great.
We're going to show that Whittle guy wrong. Juice, 27 targets today. Are you ready, young man?
Touchdown celebration, pouring juice all over himself.
Yeah. Of course, they got Henry Parrish. Love Henry Parrish. An interesting story, of course. Started his career at Ole Miss, went to what's formerly known as the U, and now he has come back in his 5th year to play back in Oxford, and he's having a nice year too. Catches a lot of balls out of the backfield. I mean, this what y'all are saying is 100. Caden Lee, they've got a lot of weapons. There's no question. I think 2 things here I'll make. The point on Antoine, and I mentioned this earlier to Mike. You got to watch out for this, right? They're going to try to do that, and Carolina's going to have to be better than that and make sure that they've already been penalized too many times this year. So is Ole Miss, for that matter. You can't cost yourself. You cannot give Ole Miss extra drives. You can't allow them to stay on the field because of something stupid. Like, you got to get off. You got to be disciplined, and it starts there. That's number 1. Number 2, it just goes right back to that defensive line. You just mentioned it just a minute ago, John. You want to stop all these guys from having opportunities, put pressure on the quarterback. And now he can make plays under pressure. I'm not saying he can't, but you got a lot better chance of forcing him into a mistake or two. And I think that's the matchup. Once again, here we go for Carolina. Defensive line, Rebels offensive line. If they make noise there, they probably get a chance to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think Jackson Dart, I don't think he is the kind of guy who is going to hang in there and make some of the throws that Garrett Nussmeier did. And Mike, you may have an opinion on this. I was so impressed by the way he would stay in there, keep his eyes downfield, and some of the throws that he made under serious pressure.
100%.
That was
calm.
That was insane to me. I hadn't seen a performance quite like that in a long time. At least not one that comes to my mind that South Carolina has played in. Of course, South Carolina doesn't usually get that kind of pressure on a quarterback, but in years past. But that's beside the point. But Jackson Dart is different. If he starts feeling the pressure, he's mobile enough to get out there and make a play. So you've got to be disciplined in what you're doing as well, because he can make a play with his legs too. So that adds a different element to this game. And South Carolina, I feel like, has played pretty disciplined up front and in that front 7 in terms of maintaining their rush lanes and their assignments, not letting quarterbacks get out of the pocket too often and express themselves in that kind of way. So but that is a big point of emphasis for me in this game. He's a little bit more mobile than a Brock Vandergriff who isn't bad for Kentucky in that way, but Dart is a little bit more of a challenge.
Last one from me, John. It just on the other side. Maybe surprise is the wrong word, but how impressed have you been by the rapid improvement / cohesion with this offensive line? Because, I mean, I thought one of the things that gets lost in the shuffle after a heartbreaking loss against LSU, I thought they held their own against LSU. They clearly got pushed, created a lot of running lanes for Rocket and Lenoris, for that matter. But we haven't really been talking about what was a concern coming in a whole lot so far. Obviously, that's a credit to what the job those guys have done.
Yeah, and I don't think we've been particularly critical of those guys since that first game. I think, as you noted, they have grown pretty consistently over the course of the year. I don't think we're giving them a whole lot of praise either, because there's still some issues, right? Like, I know that a lot of these quarterback sacks are not on the offensive linemen. As Jamie mentioned earlier, some are on quarterbacks holding the ball too long. Tight ends have not done well in the blocking phase. Same with running backs at times. So while the problems aren't all on the offensive line, you still see these huge sack totals, and they just kind of go hand in hand. So I think that's probably the biggest reason why we haven't been lumping a whole lot of praise on those guys. But at the same time, they have continued to grow over the course of the season, and I think the continuity there has helped. And those guys, knock on wood for the folks out there who are superstitious, have stayed pretty much injury free up front, and they've been out there on the field. And they really, Lonnie Teasley, this staff decided on who their top 5 offensive linemen were the second scrimmage of the preseason. And those guys have been the 5 guys since that point. So they've had a lot of opportunity to continue to build that communication level. And I think they've done a relatively good job. I do think that I do think the biggest issue that they've had based in please get John Strickland to speak to this more than me. But to me, their biggest issue has come on delayed pressures, delayed blitzes. It doesn't seem like they've necessarily passed guys off as well as they probably should have at times. To me, that's been the biggest issue. But I think that the way the offensive line is tracking, they've become a solid group so far for the Southeast from an SEC standpoint.
I am making that note now for John.
Well, John talked about it a little bit a week or two ago about almost like in basketball when somebody's setting a screen down, you yell switch, like it's the communication, it's the verbal communication that's so key on that. But you're right, like you've seen delayed linebacker blitz and all of a sudden he's coming free, a delayed corner blitz and all of a sudden he's coming free, and nobody picks him up. That's a problem. And then of course on the flip side, part of every first year starting quarterback's game, one of the things that always seems to be something that can certainly be improved is just spotting that. And there are times where Lenoris has just not seen it at all.
Yes.
It just and then gets blown up on the play. So that's you like to think that all that'll get better week by week starting on Saturday.
Yeah, 100% on all of that, quarterback stuff included. Like, and I think it has gotten progressively better over the course of the season. It's not perfect, and I don't know that South Carolina has a top 3, 4, maybe even 5 offensive line in the league, but they have the ability to be solid mid pack of the SEC, and based on what we've seen over the last however many years, like. You haven't had a middle of the pack SEC offensive line in this stretch, and to improve, if you get to that point, then I think you've really started to build something, because you've got some young guys here who are really good and talented, and having experienced guys up front is a big deal. So you've got a bunch of older guys in there right now. You're growing some guys up. I think it just sets things up really well for the future.
Carolina is expected also to have another enormous recruiting weekend. We'll cover all of that tomorrow here on our show.
You ain't covering it with me.
No, I got you. I got your back, J-Dubs. I got you.
He's got enough on his plate.
Yeah. John's not your recruiting guy. That's a Hale and Alex and JC ordeal. John, before we let you run here in a couple of minutes, Carolina, in its quest to be the first college baseball team ever to go 56-0 this coming season, has just begun fall scrimmages earlier this week. Had 2-3 innings a day, but my understanding is they really kind of like where they are here. What have you seen the last couple of days?
Well, before I answer that, what I can tell you is that South Carolina does have about 8 guys who are coming in from a basketball standpoint this weekend on some type of visit. So, which is a very nice thing. They've got 8 guys coming in, range of classes. They've got EJ Walker, a committed guy, coming in, and they've got a couple of guys who are even 2027s who are dropping in for the game. So they've got those guys have a bunch coming in, but I forget what you asked me, Jamie, but it was something baseball related. So I'll just say, it's been 4.5 innings of scrimmage, but I do know that they have really liked the build up into this scrimmage season so far. They've started a little bit later than usual around here from a fall practice standpoint. It's usually going a couple weeks earlier, but they wanted to spend a little bit more time in the individual skill portion work of practice, and work with guys, get to know them a little bit more before they jump straight into the scrimmage season. So it's been I guess 4.5 innings total of really pretty solid, clean baseball. Not a whole lot of mental mistakes, not a whole lot of physical mistakes, not a lot of strikeouts. Very small sample size, but it's been an enjoyable couple of afternoons out at Founders Park, and I'll head back out there in a couple of hours to watch 3 more innings of ball.
I tell you one thing, they will play defense. I promise you that, and they're doing everything they can to get that short up. Look, John, if they want to have a special year, they're going to have to do it with Eli Jersenbeck and Roman Kimball being very, very key pieces to this pitching staff. Had a chance to spend some time with both those dudes recently, and it seems like right now all systems are go. They're well on track to be pitching pretty well once the season gets here in February.
Yeah, and they've got a ton of dudes who can start. Like last year, it was completely opposite of what it is this year. You could probably. I was sitting there thinking about who were the starting pitching candidates the other day. And, I came up with 6 or 7 guys off the top of my head. And then sitting in Paul Maneri's press conference yesterday, he brought up Dylan Eskew, who was, somebody who I had just completely forgotten about. He started a bunch of SEC games for South Carolina last year, and I just completely forgot that he was even on the team. So yeah, they got a lot of guys over there, and Eli Jersenbeck probably highlights them. That guy is potential top 50 pick here this coming June, I guess it is, or July, whenever the draft is, July, I guess. That guy has a chance to make some real money this year, and I don't think a lot of folks really know just yet how good he actually is.
Yeah. His stuff is ludicrous when he's on. It's and same thing with Kimball. And they're 2 funky dudes too. They fit the pitcher like that. Those are pitchers right there. They're kind of strange. Roman will tell you that a little bit off, but they can throw the out of it. So we'll see what happens. They're not. Neither one of them is going to be on the mound this week, are they?
They haven't given me the list, but okay. I would think so.
Maybe a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. I would think so. I don't think either one of those guys is being held back. Not that I've heard. I think they're both ready to roll.
Okay. All right. Any parting shots, John, before we get you out of here?
No parting shots. I'll leave that for you guys since y'all only have 1 more minute left on your broadcast today, right? I'm usually right near the start of the show and not at the end. I might have to just sit here and listen to see how you guys sign it off each day.
Well, yeah, it's a well-oiled machine, John. We get to it and through it.
Yeah, it's so well-oiled you had to drop out for a couple of minutes in the middle of our conversation. There's no mad dog down here. I've got a line of 3 people across my screen instead of 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom. I don't know what's going on.
We're getting out of 203 instead of 2. We're a very well-oiled machine.
I had to finish my sandwich.
Yeah, okay. So that what it was? And you got to mention Resto Pros of the Midlands. Come on.
Well, I've mentioned them plenty. Yeah.
Trust me.
Jeff knows we got his back.
But John, while we're mentioning sponsors, since you're going over there to the ballpark, don't forget tonight, 18 wings, pitcher of light, Bud Light or Yuengling, $29 over at D's. So I could see you catching some baseball and then heading out to D's.
That's a beautiful idea, Mike. That sounds like are you gonna call that in for me?
Absolutely, I could do that. And they have people answer the phone, John. So if I call, it's not going to be if you'd like to make an order, press 2. If you want to join our fan page, press 3. If you want our hours of operation, press 1. No. Somebody answers the phone. Yes, Mr. Whittle. Your table will be ready, Mr. Whittle.
Love that. Love
Yes.
that. They're gonna. I don't need a tablecloth or anything. Just have a cold beer waiting on me as I arrive.
A pitcher, John. You're not going to stop at one. Come on.
Yeah, you go from one pitcher to another.
Beautiful day in October. You've been working hard. I'd say have at least a couple.
Okay, we might see about that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
See if you can work that in. Absolutely. John, thank you, man.
We're always
appreciate you guys. Always enjoy being on with y'all.
You
Same
got
here.
it, brother. Stay safe. We'll see you this weekend and next week. Real quick here in the chat box from a little while ago, Robert Williams. Thank you, Robert. He said, if anybody out there needs a generator, Lowe's in West Columbia still has some. Some of you may be taking some supplies to the upstate or to the mountains, may need one yourself, and you can't find one. Thankful that Robert has plugged that in. That's Lowe's in West Columbia has generators. If anybody knows someone that needs one, that's where I was.
Inside.
Go ahead, yeah.
A lot of people have actually died of that.
Yeah. Don't put it inside your house.
Yeah, it sounds common sense, but a lot of people wind up doing that. Hey, just one quick note to all your discount appliances. Unfortunately, some people might have had their appliances destroyed as well in all of this. But it's a number to keep on your fridge because you never know. They're all going to go dead eventually. Best prices delivered to your door anywhere in South Carolina. Carolina Discount Appliances. Sherry, always standing by. A number to remember, 803-770-3008, 770-3008. A couple of our listeners have already taken advantage of that, and we encourage more to do the same.
Perry will be here tomorrow. Mike will be back tomorrow. JC will be back tomorrow. I think. Oh, we don't know what we're doing yet for the opposing view, but we'll get that figured out. Thanks big time to Mad Dog behind the scenes. He's such a trooper, and he's really working hard to keep us moving and grooving. So we appreciate that. Appreciate all of you. Hope everybody's okay, and you'll continue to be in our thoughts and our prayers, and give your loved ones a big hug from us. Thanks so much to Mike Morgan. As always, I'm JB. Tomorrow at 11, we'll return here on ITG.